Good evening, everyone. I call to order this regular meeting of the Scottsdale Unified School District. It is May 9th, 2017, and the time is 5:03. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Board Member Hartman, will you please lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will have a roll call starting from my far right.
Sandy Kravitz.
Allison Beckham.
Pam Kirby.
Barbara Porleberg. All board members are present, and we do have a quorum. Our first agenda item 3, do we have any requests for changes to the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Board Member Kirby. Do I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Hartman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item 4, the Board President calls upon Dr. Birdwell to present recognitions and celebrations.
Thank you, Governing Board. At this time, we're going to invite up some individuals to do some presentations. We're going to start with Dr. Johnson.
Good evening, Madam President, Governing Board members, Superintendent Birdwell, Sandra. I'm pleased to present you with these outstanding students and teachers. Education First is the foreign exchange student agency the Scottsdale Unified School District works with to place high school students from overseas in our schools. I am proud to report that SUSD is the recipient of this year's Education First Global Education Excellence Award. I'd like to introduce Melissa Broder from EF, who nominated us for this distinction.
EF High School Exchange Year would like to thank the Scottsdale Unified School District for their commitment to exchange students and global awareness. Our students enjoy the amazing array of classes and opportunities provided at your high schools. This award is presented from EF to schools and districts that demonstrate an extraordinary commitment to international understanding and global awareness. Thank you for helping bring these students to Arizona.
My name is Sophie and I'm from the Netherlands, and my experience this year was amazing. It was even better than I would have expected it to be. Most families Jewish, so I experienced a bat mitzvah in January, and I will never forget that experience. One of the things I really liked about Desert Mountain High School is the Friday night evening at the football games. It felt unified, and I will definitely recommend EF to other exchange students in the Netherlands because it's an amazing experience and you learn a lot about it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Oscar and I go to Chaparral High School and I'm from Norway. This has been an amazing year for me and I will never forget it. I have experienced a lot of things and learned many valuable lessons. The most important of them all is about expectations. The most important thing is that I came here with little to no expectations about anything. I didn't really know what to expect, so by being open-minded, I exceeded my expectations by a mile. And the thing I would tell students that at home that are going on an exchange year or thinking about it is that it is truly an amazing experience and they will never forget it. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Dr. Kyle Ross.
Thank you. Madam President, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, members of the board. Before I begin, I noticed in the video that we've been highlighting some of our teachers, and I just wanted to thank this lady sitting behind me because in 1998 I did an internship at Chaparral High School while I was completing my undergraduate work at Arizona State, and it was in Lori's classroom. Since then, I've had the opportunity to work with many student groups and organizations as a teacher and as a club sponsor and in various roles. And for the past several years, it's been my great privilege to work with a group of students that represent the 5 high schools, and they are known as the Student Advisory Board. And they are students who represent all of the students in conversations about students when they aren't always represented. They are a fantastic group of kids to work with. They're the best of the best in terms of their leadership, their capacity in leadership, and being all around great kids. Of course, I don't have all 40 of my students with me tonight, but I have a handful of them, so I'd like to invite them to come up to the podium with me. With me, I have Harris and Sarah and Jack and Christopher, and they represent part of this year's executive board and part of the incoming executive board for next year, including Chris, who is our first ever Student Advisory Board president from right here at Coronado High School. And before I turn the mic over to them, I just want to present them with these Student Advisory Board medals, which can be worn with their graduation regalia.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Birdwell. My name is Sarah Dorsch, and I am a senior at Desert Mountain High School and your 2016-2017 Student Advisory Board president. I last addressed the board at the beginning of the school year. Since then, Student Advisory Board has been very busy. This year, we discussed the teacher evaluation system, dress code, testing, how schools are staffed, student support, and school finance. We also met with guests like high school principals, Dr. Birdwell, Dr. Sitton, and many others. We love having guest speakers and providing new ideas and feedback for you all. So thank you to everyone who took their time to come and meet with us this school year. After 3 years on SAB, I am still so surprised with all the incredible questions, ideas, and solutions all my fellow students come up with. As the customers of SUSD, we see things from different perspectives that many wouldn't see unless you stepped into our shoes. As my 8th and final year as an SUSD student comes to a close, I have hope for the future. The 2017 and 2018 school year will be a year of transition. I ask that during this time, students remain the #1 priority and are supported, informed, and encouraged. Change is never easy, and it will be felt across the district, but with the help and support of all, what was once new and scary will become normal. Before I pass the mic over to Christopher, your new SAB president, I would like to take a moment to thank someone very special to us, Dr. Ross. He has been our fearless leader for many years and has given up many Tuesday nights that he could be with his family to help this program grow and succeed. With that being said, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to lead the Student Advisory Board this year, and I'd like to turn the microphone over to Christopher.
Good evening, my name is Christopher and I am the 2017 to 2018 Student Advisory Board President. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Ross for the contribution he has made to the Student Advisory Board. His eagerness to work with students and his dedication has definitely made the dynamic of the group to be what it currently is. I'd also like to thank Sarah for being such a great president and encouraging me to, take the leadership role for the following year. I'm definitely looking forward to representing not only Coronado but the district as a whole, and I am excited to be working with such a bright group of students and to making a change in their district and voicing their opinions. Thank you.
At this time, I just want to say thank you for being so direct, so inquisitive, because my night that I spent with them, they didn't hold back any questions. And that's what we want. And we want you to know, in being student-centered, that your voices matter and we respect them. So thank you so much. And I know you're going to be very successful in college and your leadership will shine. But I also want to take this time to thank Dr. Ross as well. He has done a superb job and should be commended for all of the hours and the work and the leadership. And I know he has made a difference in your lives. So thank you very much, Dr. Ross. And at this time, Debbie Ibarra will come up, and we have some elementary recognitions this evening.
We definitely do, Dr. Birdwell. Okay, they're coming up already. It's exciting. Let's give Hohokam students a round of applause. President Perlberg, Dr. Birdwell, board members, Sandra, and community. At this time, I'm assuming one of these coaches is Mike Peabody. There you go. Andrew Joswa. And I have, who else is with us?
This is Anthony Hankoffer, another
Thank
coach.
you, Anthony. And our principal, we have Chuck Rantala with us. So it has been another successful year for Hohokam in traditional school robotics program. It's 4 robotics team, correct me guys if I say these wrong, Horus, Falcon, Merlin, and Talon. What'd I do? Falco, thank you. Somebody correct me. We're among 32 that qualified from around Arizona for the VEX IQ Robotics Elementary State Championship at ASU in February. Horace took part in the VEX IQ World Championship in Louisville, Kentucky last month as a result of finishing second at state. Merlin received an invitation to Worlds by having the highest skill score in Arizona at the state competition. Hohokam Robotics has been successful in another arena as well this school year. Hohokam Traditional School has received a $2,500 liaison grant from the Charles Foundation to continue the success of the robotics program and allow it to grow with addition of 6th graders to the school in August. The fund will be used to purchase additional robot parts, the annual VEX IQ registration, and competition fees. Congratulations to Hohokam Robotics and their students, their coaches, and their principal for your continued excellence. Let's give them a big round of applause. Yep, perfect. Thank you.
We're going to take you out that way. We've got a picture we want to take.
So at this time, I'm going to call up and ask for the team members of the Yavapai Elementary Robotics, the coaches Kay King and Scott Harvey, and Principal Nancy Hudson to join me. They're trying to get in the door. Give them a round. So robotics are a big hit at Yavapai Elementary School also. The Lightning Bolts made their presence known at every competition it took part in this school year. At the first Lego League state tournament at ASU in February, the Lightning Bot competed against 63 other teams and were awarded the trophy for strategy and innovation for their robot design and programming. Additionally, Coach Kay King was named Coach of the Year at the regional tournament held at Mojave Middle School. Congratulations to all of you, you students. Congratulations to you, to your principal, to your coaches, and a big congratulations to Coach Kay King. You guys are going to go take your picture. At this time, I'd like to ask Principal Christine Bono from Redfield to come up. Now we're going to try and make it through this without her crying. Every year, the National Association of Elementary School Principals recognizes public and private school principals who make superior contribution to their schools and communities. Redfield Elementary Principal Christine Bono has been named the 2017 class of National Distinguished Principals for the National Association of Elementary School Principals for her extraordinary passion, dedication, and contribution to her school, Redfield students, and the Redfield community. Her position allows her to impact the academic, social, and emotional success of all Redfield students by setting high standards for instruction, student achievement, character, school climate for students, families, and for the Redfield staff. Congratulations to Christine for what you have done for your community and for Scottsdale Unified School District. Now, you don't get to go anywhere for a minute. Since you're already up here, Christine, we thought we would also celebrate a few of your students while we're at it. Will Alejandro Bedoya, Tegan McCarthy, Ava Vu please join us? Also their teachers, Lori Sobel and Kathy Skinner. Alejandro. Okay, so here's why they're up here in front of us. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, Forest Service, and the National Garden Club give students the opportunity to demonstrate their understanding of wildlife prevention and basic basic environmental conservation principles through the original drawing of Smokey Bear or Woodsy Owl. Students prepared for this contest by researching conservation, fire prevention, and the history of the National Forest Service, and by getting insight into the subject from a retired Forest Service employee who visited Redfield. Students in Ms. Sobel's 4th grade class and Ms. Skinner's multi-age 4th and 5th grade class integrated art, science, and social studies standards to complete their projects that were submitted to the Scottsdale Gardening Club, then state and then regional judges with the Forest Service. These students were recognized for their clear, creative, and passionate messages about fire prevention and conservation. 5th grader Alejandro Bedoya took 1st place in the Pacific region last year. Congratulations. 4th grader Tegan McCarthy won 1st place for state and 2nd in the Pacific region this year, so let's give her a round of applause. And 5th grader Ava Vu won 1st place in the state competition. Congratulations on your award, students. Keep drawing. You guys get to go with her. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not finished yet. I have one more person to call up. I'd like to call up Christine Kinghorn at this time. She is the principal of Desert Canyon Elementary. So the mission of the Arizona School Administrators is to promote and support educational excellence in school leadership. Every year, ASA recognizes an outstanding new elementary principal who excelled in the profession during his or her first year as a principal. We concur with its selection of Desert Canyon Elementary Principal Kristen Kinghorn to receive this year's award. It sees what we see, a leader who acts to produce a positive climate and high morale among students, staff, and colleagues, a principal who involves the surrounding community in the life of the school district, and who builds community support for education, a principal who moves successfully to implement the philosophy and goals of the school district. Please join me in congratulating ASA Elementary Principal Rookie of the Year, Kristen Kinghorn. So just an FYI, both Christine and Kristen get to go to a luncheon this summer for Arizona school administrators, and they will be acknowledged up there where they will get plaques and get, again, celebrated for being the principals they are. Very huge accomplishment on their part and for Scottsdale Unified School District. We're very excited on that. While I have Kristen up here, we're going to ask her to introduce a special presentation from her school. Kristen?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Birdwell, Governing Board, Sandra, community. We're about to show you a video of our Mandarin exposure kiddos. These are our third grade students, and they will be talking to you in Mandarin and singing you a brief song. And this is our exposure model that we implemented this year to help us as we introduce and roll out our FLY program for next year that we are almost on a waiting list for. So we are super excited to show you what our students have been learning. So Desert Canyon third grade students.
Dear board and communities, we are the third grade students from Desert Canyon Elementary School. Ni hao!
Now at this time we have Dr. Johnson with some high school recognition.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Superintendent Birdwell and Sandra. Once again, I'm happy to be up here to share these celebrations with you and our community. I would first like to ask the National Junior Honor Society members, teachers Linda Beepley and Chris Picard and Principal Lindsay Stoller-Slover to join us. So we know. Stand up there. Thank you. Global Rescue Project is a Scottsdale-based foundation that helps provide safety, shelter, food, and education to children liberated from slavery in Ghana, Africa. Led by advisor Linda Bepley and teacher Chris Picard, the Copper Ridge National Junior Honor Society students conducted a fundraising drive to benefit Global Rescue Project. NJHS members sold blue t-shirts bearing the GRP logo to their fellow Copper Ridge K-8 students, raising $3,082.92 for the organization. The group presented a check to Global Rescue founder Leah Stenzel in a ceremony last month at Copper Ridge. We are happy to report that 100% of the profits will go directly to GRP. The money will allow 90 children to take part in their first ever field trip to Mole National Park, Ghana's largest wildlife protected area. We are especially proud of this humanitarian undertaking by the students at Copper Ridge. Principal Lindsay, you're staying up here. Thank you. I'd also like to ask the Eliminators, Masterminds, and Brainbusters teams and teacher Martina Rodriguez to join us up here. Hello, welcome. Hi. Welcome. Welcome. Hello. Thank you. It was a clean sweep for the 3 Copper Ridge teams that took part in the state's recent E-Cyber Mission competition for 6th graders. E-Cyber Mission is a web-based science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM, competition for students in 6th through 9th grade. This U.S. Army educational outreach program is committed to answering the nation's need for increased national STEM literacy and expanding STEM education opportunities to open new career paths for American students. Teams of 3 or 4 students to define a project in the community, then construct an explanation for it or design a solution to it. Team Brainbusters, comprised of Paul Kadufi, Lars Nordhagen, Katie Marsh, and Chris Alexander, created a self-watering pot called H2 Grow, with the O being the H2O. The team hopes its invention will make houseplant care easier and increase the amount of plant life. Sammy Fisher, Maya Miller, Jessica Knapp, and Brienne Hattie teamed up on the Masterminds to study dental health. Their research found that children are not allowed to use dental whitening strips because of their toxicity if consumed. So the Masterminds created an all-natural mouthwash for children to whiten their teeth and clean their mouths at the same time. Finally, the E-Lemonators, Ryan McIntosh, Sawyer Furio, and Nancy Mellon looked into the issue of food cravings. Oh, I need to hear about that. They found that things such as gum, mints, and exercise help stave off food cravings. Oh, thank you for that tip. Combined, these Copper Ridge teams, guided by teacher Marina Rodriguez, better known as Emrod, took the first and second place titles as well as honorable mention.
And I need help with my house plants, so you students see me after.
Next, we have the National AIAA Foundation Educator Achievement Award. I'd like to have Tracy Dodrill, Cocopa Assistant Principal Steve Salcido, and SUSD Science Academic Coach Barbara Reinhardt to the front. Oh, it's okay. Thanks. Hey, Steve. Good to see you. Cocopa Middle School Science teacher Tracy Dodrill received the 2017 American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics Foundation Educator Achievement Award last week in Washington, D.C. The AIAA Foundation recognizes 5 outstanding educators nationally for their contributions to the continued study of mathematics, science, and related technical studies among America's youth. Dodrill was honored for exemplary contributions to educating and empowering Cocopah students every day to pursue STEM education and careers. Dr. James Horvich, formerly of Raytheon Corporation, nominated Dodrill for this national honor. Over the last 11 years, Dodrill has been involved with AIAA at the local, state, and national levels, volunteering in both STEM K-12 education and public policy. She has brought her passion for STEM education to SUSD middle schools through many outside the classroom events and projects for her students. She has received numerous state and national awards for her work in these areas. If she doesn't already sound like a busy person, Tracy also serves NASA as an ambassador on the Maven and OSIRIS-REx missions, a NASA Solar System ambassador, and is a mentor teacher to student teachers and interns at ASU, U of A, and NAU. She also advises a Girls Rule Foundation Dream Lab leadership program for middle school girls. Tracy, congratulations to you and thank you for everything you do for Cocopah and SUSD students.
Tracy, hold on a second.
Oh, are you on?
I says I'm live, but I'm not.
Here, Tracy. You have to come back to the microphone. That's okay.
Okay, so I visited, I visited with her. I've watched her teach. I've watched her mentor, her work with young girls. I just have to take this moment to say you are an exemplar teacher. You are amazing to watch. I know why the universities choose you as a master teacher to teach others. Thank you for being part of Scottsdale and being an amazing educator in our field.
Western States Printing Alliance's Print Excellence Awards. I'd like to invite Amelia Whittington, Ali Cole, Jack Galati, Jared Gagnon, Jake Oken, Nick Lindgren, teacher Bernie Fritz, and Principal Nikki Wilford from Desert Mountain High School to come to the podium.
So just bear with, this is the last board meeting before graduations, and we want to get as many students recognized as possible, so we apologize for a little bit of the delay, but there were just a whole lot of great things that have been happening in the last 2 months, so bear with us. This is a time for us to recognize students.
That's what it looks like.
While they're on their way up, Assistant Principal David Vines will be here. Here, stand. Last month, these students from Desert Mountain High School's graphic design program were honored with Western States Printing Alliance Print Excellence Awards. Students entered professional printed pieces for the 4-state competition. As Mr. Fritz, Desert Mountain's graphic design instructor, will tell you that for these students to be able to stand up with elite members of the printing industry is a huge honor. Amelia Whittington, a gold medal winner this year, was singled out at the ceremony as a second-year recipient, having won bronze in 2016. Both Amelia's and Jack Galetti's pieces have now been entered into the Premier Print Awards, which recognizes the highest quality printed pieces in various categories from around the world. Desert Mountain graphic design students learn how to create pieces such as flyers, logos, and ads that are used in the business world every day. They work on projects using up-to-date, industry standard software, providing them with real-world experience. And through Desert Mountain's partnership with Scottsdale Community College, students can earn up to 16 college credits in the 3-year program. Congratulations on your excellent achievement, students. Next, I'd like to invite up Cameron Lizick, Kenton McDonald from Arcadia High School. Arcadia Principal Nathan Slater. At our meeting 2 weeks ago, we celebrated Saguaro High School's Cameron White, who had been named a 2017 Flynn Scholar. Tonight, we want you to meet Arcadia High School's Cameron Lizick and Keaton McDonald, who are also 2017 recipients of Flynn Scholarships from the Flynn Foundation. Only one other high school in the state, which there's over 5,000 by the way, has 2 Flynn Scholars this year. If these students look familiar to you for some reason, it may be because you remember them from the Charles Dinner a few weeks ago, at which they were recognized as the Charles Outstanding Students from Arcadia for this school year. Also, Cameron is a finalist for the National Merit Scholarship. The Flynn Scholars Program received more than 750 applications from high school seniors for this year's scholarship, translating to an award rate of 2.6%. The scholarship benefits Cameron and Keaton will receive, beyond covering 8 semesters of tuition and room and board, total more than $115,000, and include a 3-week summer seminar in China following freshman year, and at least 1 additional study abroad experience, funded participation in the Professional Leadership Internship Program exclusively for Flynn Scholars at an Arizona company or organization, mentorship from top faculty, and exposure to local and world leaders, including Arizona's leading business, civic, and academic minds, fellowship in a community of about 80 current and more than 500 alumni scholars, membership in the university's Honors College or program with small classes, guest lectures, and research experiences. Both Keaton and Cameron will attend Barrett, the Honors College at ASU in the fall, and plan to study. Cameron, want to come tell us what you're going to study?
Yes. I plan on studying biology.
Thank you, Keaton.
Computer science and economics.
May I present to you Cameron Lizick and Keaton McDonald 2017 Flynn Scholars from Arcadia High School. Not to be outdone by the elementary robotics teams, here we go with secondary. Chaparral High School Firebirds robotics team. Coaches Amy Palatucci and Steve Geislinger and Principal Gail Holland to the front, please. The Chaparral High School robotics team is one of 2 SUSD high school teams to compete last month in the first World Championships competition in Houston. You'll meet the other team in a minute. There's no doubt about it. It's been a great year for the Firebirds. They represented SUSD proudly in tournaments around the state from NAU to GCU. Robotics is not just about winning competitions. It's also about how you interact with other teams that want to win just as badly as you do. Chaparral's team 3091 captured the Gracious Professionalism Awards both at home and in Texas. As part of their philosophy of supporting others, the Firebirds created a texting hotline during the Houston competition through which other teams could seek troubleshooting assistance from the Firebirds. Through its 301-911 hotline, the Chaparral team was able to help teams that were having electrical and mechanical issues with their robots. Congratulations on a fabulous year, Chaparral. We are proud to call you our own. I'm going to call you up to do that afterwards.
Governing Board, as they file out and the next team file in, I just want to share that these sponsors have been amazing and dedicated, and thanks to Amy's letter and memo that I received, the district will be working with our teachers to make these programs co-curricular versus extracurricular, bringing robotics classes into the classroom.
Next, we have the Desert Mountain High School robotics team with Coach Michelle Oken and Assistant Principal David Vines. The Wolves have made a big splash this year as SUSD's rookie high school robotics team, picking up awards at tournaments at NAU, GCU, and at the first competition last month in Houston. Wolfpack Team 6314 is the first SUSD robotics team to be part of an alliance that advanced to the finals of the first competition, and only the second team ever from Arizona to achieve that. The combination Arizona, Georgia, Idaho, and Nevada alliance placed first in its division and placed third overall, a major accomplishment for this rookie team. We look for many more great things from you in the years ahead, Wolfpack.
Good job.
So a few of our students are future leaders of tomorrow. We're hoping to say a couple things. We have some from each of the team, if they could take a minute. I just want to send a correction. I'm the one who sends all the annoying updates. It was actually Miss Oken who sent out about the co-curricular. It was kind of a collaborative, but
It was a collaborative. I think I saw a lot of names, including middle school.
yes.
Yes.
So.
Thank you to the board members of SUSD Robotics Programs for supporting us. Your support means the world to us. We want to give you a special shout out for those who came to the GCU competition. It was wonderful seeing you all there. A big howl out to all the Charos people and Pam Kirby for helping us raise so much money in just a few days. Your help got us to Worlds and changed each and every member of our team's lives. We can't begin to thank you enough for supporting and leading us in the right direction. We have medals for the following people who helped us get to GCU and saw us at GCU. The following people, Pam Sidden, Anna McCauley, Mitch Von Gertzen, and Sandy Kravitz helped us at GCU and represented at DMHS.
In robotics, we form alliances with teams we want to work with. We help support each other in any way possible. Today, we are asking you to join our alliance and become part of our robotics team. Your support will mean the world to us. Will you be willing to join? Here are pins and bracelets from our teams for you to wear to show your support and that you have accepted to be part of our alliance.
As a robotics team, we build robots from scratch in 6 weeks. Yes, we do all of this from start to finish, and then hopefully at the end of the 6 weeks, when it's time to bag and tag our robot is fully working, programmed, and ready to compete.
Today we want to challenge you to the same 6 weeks. Can you help us to form a class in these 6 weeks where we get credit? We will be ready to go for the 2017-2018 school year. The good thing is that the classes we're talking about have already been established in our high school planning guide. By having these classes, we will be given the opportunity to share our knowledge and go out and promote community service throughout STEAM. The SUSD school district will shine as we will be the first district to have classes in all our high schools where we're promoting STEM. This is the future of our country. Please give us the opportunity to learn and shine for you. We will not let you down.
Okay, I'm going to answer you since you challenged me. I've been accused of moving too fast on many occasions, but I think this is one of the occasions that I won't be criticized. So if it's okay with you, we'll make that happen.
Hello, I'm from Saguaro. And I'm over here, a senior, wishing I was a freshman so I could take some classes. But yeah, I'd just like to thank all of you for your continuous support of our program. It is really because of you guys that we're so successful as a robotics program in SUSD. I'd like to give a big shout out to our coach, Miss Lindberg. She's put in like 560 hours this season. So it's a lot of dedication. It's a lot of dedication, and we should really be supporting that and supporting teachers moving to further the robotics program in SUSD. So.
Hi, I'm another student from Saguaro, a sophomore, and I also wanted to thank all the teachers who just are involved, whether it be through organizing events like this. Like I know through Mr. Taveld, I was able to come here and speak today. And it's really to keep the momentum of STEM in our community. And obviously, you see that there are countless kids passionate about continuing and growing into a life better for themselves through the world of engineering. And so for our team in particular, we really want to have like a call to action for you guys, for the board members, because we had one of our founding members actually retire this year. So he was not only a financial sponsor, but he was also one of our like best mentors ever that we've ever had. So we're really looking now almost at a loss, and we're like, can we get the momentum to keep going, keep growing? Saguaro really wants to be an educational organization to really inspire the next generation of leaders. And we hope that with you guys and with the support from all the SUSD teams, we can make that happen.
Just one final comment. Obviously, I'm a little older than any other speaker that was just up here.
So you're not a student?
Man, you figured it out. So I am, first and foremost in my life, I am a mentor, proudly a mentor, for Desert Mountain Robotics, the Wolf Pack. I do, however, have a day job. I'm CEO of a mid-size software company. I employ hundreds of developers worldwide. 90% of those developers are outside of the country. Only 10% are in the US. And the reason for that is two simple numbers: 16 and 32. 16% is the graduation rate in the tertiary system in the United States for people graduating with STEM degrees. 32% is what our competitors do. Japan, Germany, China, double the rate of graduation in STEM degrees. And at the end of the day, you know what? It's not the college's responsibility. Because by the time somebody gets to be a freshman in college, he's already made that decision on what he's going to try and major in. That responsibility lies here. It's to inspire these kids, to light the candle, to create a life of opportunity for themselves in an environment which today, there is over 1 million unfilled jobs, over $100,000 a year in software programming alone. Never mind all the other STEM disciplines. We cannot find the people because the responsibility lies here to inspire these kids. And as a point of inspiration, I don't think we've made the point strongly enough about what Desert Mountain really accomplished this year. As a rookie team, there are only 24 teams out of 5,000 in the world that got to participate on the Einstein field. This is harder than going to the World Series, and they did it in their first year out. Those kids, the people involved with that team, should be an inspiration, not just to Scottsdale. They're an inspiration to the 5,000 teams all around the world of what they were able to accomplish. The only rookie team that has made it to the Einstein field in years. So to that, thank you for agreeing to help light the candle for what these kids are accomplishing. Thank you to all of you, and go Wolfpack!
Thank you. Going to get your pictures out there. So thank you very, very much. And yes, we are committed to growing these programs. But for the teams that weren't here tonight, we're talking about growing all the teams in Scottsdale, middle and high, and creating those programs. So it's not just about Desert Mountain and Chaparral. So thank you so much for being such great examples, students.
And now we have some sports celebrations. First up, Gail Holland, principal at Chaparral High School.
Stand right here. Oh, thank you. I moved. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra. It is my pleasure to introduce Grace Coaster and Aaron Hannon and their tennis coach, Nadine Nichols. Grace and Aaron won the Division I AIA State Doubles Championship last weekend. Their season record as a doubles team was 14-1. Throughout the state championship tournament, they only lost a combined total of 5 games, and that's in 14 sets. They also gained the honor of being named to the All-State Tennis Team and were chosen as the D1 Doubles Team of the Year. And this honor comes from coaches as they vote in a statewide coaches poll. So Grace is a junior, Aaron is a freshman. I'm sure Coach Nichols is going to have several even better years at Chaparral High School. So congratulations to Grace and Aaron and Coach Nichols.
I have another recognition I'd like to do. Desert Mountain Girls Tennis Team. If I could have Assistant Principal David Vine come up and Coach Sherry North. Are they here or are they in the hallway? Oh, here we are. So and Coach North, so let me just say, we're going to let you talk a little bit about this. She did email me today, and unfortunately, between my meetings, we didn't get as quickly back and forth, but I want to commend you for going above and beyond to get your team here, and I know how difficult that is. We're going to help in the future with that. Sometimes, parents, we ask kids to come, and we forget that they don't drive always. And we ought to get them transportation to a meeting to recognize them. So we stumbled through that. You brought that to my attention. We're going to fix that going forward. But I am so pleased that you're here with your team. So tell us about them and the awards. So they are, I understand, the state Division I AIA state champions. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. I am proud of my team this year. These girls are honorable in more than one way, not just in athleticism. So I'd like to go through that with you a little bit. My team is comprised of 11 total varsity players, but then I ended up playing in the state finals with these kids right here. Plus, I'm missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm missing one of my players here. We went into state finals with a 13-1 record. We had only had one loss against Mountain View Mesa, and we met up with we were seeded number 1, and Mountain View Mesa was seeded number 2 in state finals, and we took them out with a 5-0 win. So I'm really proud of those girls. They dug deep and they played really well. I'm not just proud of their win. I'm proud of the excellence within which they conduct themselves. Because you're looking at some girls here who have clocked in over 750 hours combined in community service. These fine young athletes not only are athletic, but they serve their community in numerous ways. In addition to the community service, these young ladies have an academic average of over a 3.5, and they have been recognized by the AIA, at Arizona Interscholastic Association, for their academic excellence, because all of these women that you're looking at right here have straight A's. They don't know yet that they've received that. They don't know they've received that award yet. They'll be getting that award at their banquet. I'd like to introduce my freshmen. I have a very young team. That's the driving issue. I have a freshman, McKenna Koenig. She went undefeated this year, and she was also nominated out of 3 players in all of Arizona as AZ Central's player, one nominee out of 3 for AZ Central Arizona Player of the Year. Wave at everybody. Josie Frazier is my number 2 player, and she is a sophomore, and she was 2016 Singles AIA Player of the Year, and she was also just recognized by the USTA and awarded a leadership award where she is only one of 32 out of the nation. Wave. My player, Maddie Moore, is a senior, and we're going to be really sad to lose Maddie. She has signed, was the All-City champion this year in our district, but she also signed a contract and is awarded a full scholarship through NAU. Great. I'm going to go down the line with the other players now. I've got Haley Stelz, a freshman, Sophia Zhang, a freshman, Esther Gold, who's a junior, Jackie Amendola, who's a sophomore, and one who couldn't be here, Caitlin Moorhead, who is a sophomore. So I present to you Desert Mountain and Arizona's finest tennis team this year. This year, I say this year we'll be back. We've got some young kids here, and they are hustlers.
Yep, I'm thinking, Coach, you're going to be back. This is a young team. So thank you, young ladies. Well done. Yeah, now we have Nathan Slater coming up from Arcadia. Another tennis recognition.
President Pohlberg, board members, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, community. It is my honor tonight to recognize the Division II team state champion Arcadia Titan girls tennis team. Congratulations, girls. Good job. They come bearing gifts. Season started with a little bit of obstacles that the girls overcame quite well. We lost our coach mid-season. We want to thank Coach Carpenter for coming in midway and taking over the leadership role. Coach Carpenter, thank you. The season ended, we were 14-0. We went to the state tournament and played Greenway, beat them, played Cactus Shadows, beat them. Saturday, it was 108 degrees out there, and we beat the #1 seed, Catalina Foothills, 5-3, and great job. And then on Saturday, against Notre Dame, again on a windy day, we took home the state championship with a 5-3 win against Notre Dame. So Division II state champions. We also have two young ladies, Jillian, raise your hand, Jillian Rasmussen and Katie Reed. They were the doubles state champions as well. Congratulations. And Izzy Brown holding the trophy there. She won 4th place as the individual in the state tournament, so congratulations. This is, in the past 3 years, Arcadia's 8th state championship or runner-up, which is a great accomplishment that we're very, very proud of. And as always, guys, congrats and go Titans. Good job.
Now that concludes our student awards, and thank you for the little extra time with our students. Like I said, it's the end of the school year, and we wouldn't have a captive audience to congratulate them in June. So thank you for your patience.
Alrighty. Fantastic. We move on next to item 5, public comments. Sandra, I do have all the cards, correct? We will start with the agenda items first. In conformance with open meeting laws, the governing board may not discuss or take action tonight on any matters raised during public comments that are not on the agenda. However, the governing board may respond to direct criticism, ask staff to review the matter, or ask that it be placed on a future agenda. As a reminder, each speaker will have 3 minutes. Vice President Kirby will indicate the time with a 30-second warning. We do ask that each speaker introduce themselves for clarity in the record. And please note, we are only able to give each individual 3 minutes total, and time may not be yielded to another speaker. In the interest of time, we ask that those present refrain from applause or reactions between speakers so that we may hear and respect all. Our first speaker is Ariana Guda. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And she will be followed by Tom Roxborough.
Hello, community members, teachers, district personnel, and of course members of the board. My name is Ariana Gauda, and I'm a Coronado teacher. I teach science, biology, and because we're talking about the Coronado Success Initiative, I wanted to show you how I've seen it through my perspective this year. I regret to inform the board that no science teachers are returning to Coronado next year. So you are tasked with hiring 7 science teachers, which is not easy. So I hope as a board you're thinking about how you can attract teachers to this district. As a young teacher myself, the thing that drew me to this district was this school, not the district. I loved this school. I was a student teacher here, and these kids are down to earth, respectful, and they've got your back. There's a family here that I hope will be intact for next year, but unfortunately I will not be able to be a part of anymore. As a board, I hope you're thinking about how to attract teachers, because for me, from my perspective, you need 3 things. You need to have, first off, adequate compensation, which you have been thinking about obviously many times in the past. You need more than that, though. As you found with offering $7,000, it's more than just adequate compensation. People need to have purposeful work, and people need to have autonomy. Nobody is questioning that it is purposeful work to work at Coronado. This, if we can get through to these kids, we can affect their entire community. They are in dire straits, many of them. their parents are working 2 and 3 jobs. Their parents don't speak English. They're the first generation to go to college, so nobody is questioning that this is purposeful work. But what we were questioning is how much autonomy are we going to have next year? There are still so many uncertainties, and it's been very stressful this year not knowing what next year is going to look like. We've gotten very little direction from the district on what it will look like. And the thing that was holding many teachers on board was the compensation, the $7,000. And I can inform you today, nothing has been put in writing. No teacher has gotten that in writing. And that is, I hope that you don't rip that from the teachers who are staying, because you need to hold tight the teachers who are coming back and show them that you respect them.
Tom Roxborough.
Hello. My name is Tom Roxborough. Hello, Governing Board, Dr. Birdwell and Sandra. I've been a math and CTE teacher at Coronado for the past 8 years. I would like to read you a randomized list of names and numbers. Carson, 1. Greg, 10. Eric, 1. Amy, 5. John, 9. Mark, 2. Tony, 31. Tricia, 21. Kathy, 4. Barb, 9. Steve, 12. Mike, 10. Dave, 11. Tom, 14. Holly, 3. Lisa, 18. Kay, 22. Lisa, 4. Chris, 3. Jessica, 11. Tiffany, 1. Connie, 4. Liza, 2. Allie, 1. Alyssa, 5. Kathy, 42. John, 1. Terry, 3. Neil, 16. Charlie, 7. Schultz, 25. Roy, 32. Hutton, 3. Linda, 1. Buck, 30. Erica, 19. Lana, 2. Erica, 2. Eric, 14. Sammy, 10. Darren, 20. Bill, 19. Nick, 1. Jerry, 19. That was a total of 44 names. Those are my colleagues who will not be returning to Coronado in August. The numbers after each represented their years in the district, and for most that is also close to their number of years at Coronado. That's a total of 480 years of experience that will walk out these doors in just over 2 weeks, never to return. The reality is many of us won't ever cross paths again, but that's a part of adult life. It happens, people change jobs, they move on. To me, the saddest thing is that our students won't ever see these people again. And our future students, the past and current students, siblings, friends, relatives, they won't see the faces behind these names. Alumni won't be able to see any of us at events such as graduation. An entire piece of Coronado history will have been wiped out overnight. I spoke to you a few months ago about my hope that, for the sake of our Coronado students, this initiative succeed. I said that change had been desired for years, but I also said that ignoring current staff was not the right way to go about affecting this change. I still believe that. I don't think that a massive staff departure is the right way to kick off a success initiative. The people who chose to work with and help our students for a total of almost 500 years were not the problem. Lack of regard for human dignity is morally wrong, but willfully ignoring the accumulated knowledge, shared memories, and experiences of so many people is also just plain organizationally bad. The heart, soul, and history of Coronado has been wiped out. Concluding, I wish all my colleagues well in whatever the future holds for them. And more importantly, I wish the students of Coronado well with the upcoming Coronado Success Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. We move next to non-agenda items. First, Bert Teveld, followed by Mike Peabody.
My name is Bert de Velde. I'm a teacher at Mojave Middle School. I speak today on behalf of Julie Sanowski, who's the SEA president. So what I say is what she wrote. Dr. Birdwell, Madam President, board members, and Sandra, it is with great pleasure that my message tonight is being presented by my colleague. Tonight, I'm not here as I'm playing the role as a parent. I'm recognizing my own daughter's accomplishment as a student. As a family in Scottsdale, we've had the privilege of seeing our children grow, challenge themselves, overcome diversity, and succeed. And with our daughter graduating from the IB program at Desert Mountain in the next couple of weeks, I reflect back as to what made our kids successful. It was not about any perfect test scores, it was about the relationships that they built while attending SUSD schools. My children still speak fondly of certain teachers, have written essays on the influence of the teachers they connected with, and will take this influence with them forever. Learning does not take place without those connections, and I realize these relationships are interdependent on trust. If we want more trust at work, we need to speak for trust and not against distrust. Teachers are student-focused and driven to meet the needs of their students. And this concludes what Julie wrote, and I will read, because Julia spoke too. And yes, she gave away that I was a little involved in that. And as a teacher, I'm student-focused. Julia spoke so eloquently, so I'm going to let the rest rest. I know Julie will have opportunities to speak later, and I know that you will listen, but I'm just going to trust, and I'm going to trust one of the things you said, 6 weeks. That's going to be a tough one. So, but that's the way I'd like to work, and Julie will speak some other time. Thank you for your time.
Mike Peabody will be followed by Susan Hughes.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, cabinet. I have a list of names here. Diana Davis, Greg Neely, Steve Geislinger, and I'm sorry if I butcher any of these names, Amy Palatucci, Michelle Orkin, Susan Lindberg, Michael Hart, Casey Noski, Justin Bladsher, Debbie Voris, Lori Galvin, Regina Moran, Danielle Reinhart, Art Eklund, Aaron Bryant, Zach Cuppy, Scott Harvey, Kay King, Roland Willis, Larry Bloom, Chris Hain, Andrew Joswa. Those people represent 21 of 30 SUSD schools, and they are the robotics coaches for those schools. In my mind, and I don't list myself on here because I'm not getting paid for robotics. I'm not getting paid for anything I do at SUSD. I'm a full-time volunteer. These people dedicate their time in the classrooms and also their time with the kids after school for robotics. And I am here on their behalf to lobby for a pay increase for them to coach those kids. We have elementary schools, we have middle schools, and we have high schools, all achieving great feats on the world stages, my kids included in that. I believe we need to recognize those people, those coaches that devote hours and dollars and time, blood, sweat, and tears to those kids to have them succeed. So I would like to have an initiative put forward to pay them in a representative way of their talents for what they do. On a second note, what I would like to do, and I have not reached out to anybody on this, I have not reached out to any board members, I would like SUSD to form a pool of engineers that would be willing to go to every school that has robotics, and even the schools that don't have robotics, and help those robotics kids succeed, have them jump a stage ahead. Right now, from what I've learned in my term at Hohokam and going to Worlds, we have Chinese national teams that are coached by engineers, taught by engineers. The engineers build their robots, then teach the kids how to build those robots. We have our kids being shown things to do. I would love for an engineer to come in and help us. I would love for mentors to come in and help us, and everybody else. This is my impassioned plea to you. Please help robotics succeed. Sports are going to go away with concussions and everything else. Robotics should jump into that part. Make it better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Susan Hughes, followed by Eric Flayton.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Susan Hughes. First of all, I want to say thank you to the board for allowing me to speak. I appreciate that. And it's National Teachers Week. Wanted to acknowledge all the teachers. Can all the teachers raise their hands, please? I applaud you. So a little bit about who the heck I am and why I'm here. I'm a parent. I'm an advocate. I'm a retired physician. I'm a healer. And I'm a facilitator. My mother was a teacher and an elementary school principal. It's something I've grown up with. It's in my DNA. I've had over 2 decades in working with teachers and facilitating in my role as a physician and helping kiddos with sensory processing issues, autism, and other disabilities. As a facilitator, my goal is to help open up communication, and part of that is looking at definitions. And one thing I would really love to hear from the board, helping define, because I've looked at it several different times and I'm not quite sure what it means. So if you can teach me, as a physician, what does teacher-focused education mean, or teacher-focused learning versus student-focused? I think that there's a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding and hurt feelings on what that is. And as a parent of 2 kids at SUSD, it's really important to have clear definitions. I think the other thing in looking at that, me as a physician and working with teachers for over 2 decades, is I've never met a teacher who is not student-focused. Teaching, like medicine, is in their calling. It's in part of their DNA. They're not doing it for the big bucks. They're certainly not doing it for the boats. They're doing it because they get the endorphin hits of seeing the connections of a child learn. That's why they're doing it. As a physician, I treat anxiety, or treated anxiety for years, and what I'm seeing now with my teachers is severe anxiety. And that anxiety comes from many factors: fear of the unknown, lack of control over one's destiny, lack of respect, and silenced voices. 30 seconds, I'll be quick. So my goal is to open up meaningful dialogue and impart understanding what the 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year goal of the board is, and helping share that with the teachers, with the parents, and the community, so that we can have a collaborative role in that and help support you. I think that the president said that there is, rapid change, unprecedented change, and I think with that we need unprecedented communication. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Birdwell and members of the board. My name is Eric Flayton, and I'm a junior at Chaparral High School. First, I would like to say that my friends and I who came here, we weren't asked to come here. We weren't told to come here. We felt that we had to because, to state frankly, we're a little scared. This year, I had the great privilege of being in an AP language and composition class. Because of this course, my writing, my knowledge of rhetoric and literary devices, and my insight of politics and government has inspired me greatly. When my English teacher solemnly told my class of her departure from Chaparral, I felt confused and heartbroken. Because she did not tell us why she was leaving, I took it upon myself to view board meeting live streams, which I saw every one, and news stories regarding SUSD to see if I could get a clue. I did. So I'm here today to voice my concern as a student. I would like to tell the board that I love my teachers at Chaparral High School. They are my biggest asset. They give me voice, encourage me, and inspire me every day. I would like to stress the point that when teachers are passionate and excited about what they're teaching, a student-centered atmosphere exists and thrives completely. However, when teachers have concerns about district policy and some take steps to address that, students become concerned, as I did when I took it upon myself to find out why my administration and teachers are leaving. We see our 2016 Teacher of the Year leaving, and one thing is certain. Myself and my fellow inquisitive classmates, some of which are here today, are beginning to ask questions which we receive little answers to. I hope to see no more of my beloved teachers at my school leave. Thank you very much.
Ed Richard, followed by Allison Jenkins.
Mrs. Como, Dr. Birdwell, and board members. As I stand up in the back there, I noticed something really entertaining and sad as a parent. Remember, I have 6 kids. I hear teacher after teacher, supposed community members talking about, oh, teacher pay. You know what? That's fantastic. You can send Mrs. Marsh, or she can take it upon herself, to go down to the legislature and petition for that. Dr. Birdwell made it quite clear about a 10% raise. But I keep on hearing that no one trusts you. You know what I don't trust? Teachers who put themselves above my children. Mr. Roxborough listed a bunch of teachers which are leaving. You know what? Last time I checked, Mr. Roxborough and the rest of those teachers who left, and the SEA people there, including Mr. Roni Asali, can do basic math. They can access the internet. I've been able to do that and shown parents, numerous parents, how this district has faltered for over a decade. Yet these teachers, the SEA, supposed cabinet members, some which aren't here, thankfully, did nothing. But they're okay about that. They can come to these meetings and wave little pieces of paper. That's their right. This is my right as a parent. I demand and need an education for my children. If teachers get bent out of shape over their pay, then I guess the SEA or whoever else wants to represent them should come up with a structured plan. When I heard a poor student saying, we're afraid of Mrs. Marsh leaving, that shows an issue of communication. And I'm going to put that squarely on site leaders most of the time. And believe me, if you could see the communications I've received from parents regarding this petty bickering over pay and then for this Coronado Success Initiative, you all want to quit. Because when the parents say there's a huge issue and they see their teachers, the ones who are supposed to be instructing their kids, bicker over money, that simply tells the parents, my child has a price tag in their head. That's not what teachers are supposed to do. You can protest silently or whatnot. You can gather up people, go on the news. But Dr. Birdwell, I watched that clip on Channel 12 numerous times. You were the only person who spoke about kids and education. Sadly, it looks like we have a lot of teachers here which lost their way. I demand change, especially in this school. Because I'm telling you, if Mr. Roxborough, as one of the SEA members, would have done the math, he would have said, we have a bigger problem other than pay. Thank you.
Allison Jenkins will be followed by Luis Medrain. It's hard to read, sorry.
Governing Board, Dr. Birdwell and Sandra. My name is Allison Jenkins and I'm a teacher. In all my 12 years of teaching, I have always been student-centered. I have always looked at my data to determine the needs of my class and students. However, I'm also the type of teacher that knows there's more to a child than their test score. I get to know my students on a deeper level so that I can best meet their individual needs. I involve parents as they are an integral part of their child's education. The goal I have for my students, current, and have for my entire career is that they all reach their full potential. The comments made on Channel 12 News on Sunday night made it seem as though the teachers have never been student-centered nor used data. Both those statements are false. My students are successful. They make gains in all academic areas every year, but also learn important interpersonal skills. The teachers I have worked with at SUSD are amazing, committed, compassionate, and very student-centered. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week at my school. I would like to share 3 notes students wrote me. Dear Ms. Jenkins, thank you so much for an amazing year. I feel like I've learned so much and I hope I can come back and visit, which they're all welcome, of course. I love the way you teach and explain everything. You're an amazing teacher and definitely by far the best teacher I have ever had. Dear Ms. Jenkins, thank you for being one of the best teachers ever. You are kind and honest and a teacher I can always trust. I love having you as my teacher. And finally, dear Ms. Jenkins, thank you so much for teaching me wholeheartedly. It has made me much smarter. I will take what I've learned everywhere I go. Thank you for coming up with so many fun games and just going with the flow every day. Thanks again for everything. As we leave this school year behind and look forward to the next school year, I hope that we can come together to keep SUSD and each school as amazing as they can be. We are SUSD. I am SUSD.
Good afternoon, board members and community. My name is Luis Medrano. My mother graduated from Coronado High School. My wife and I graduated from Coronado High School. I have 2 sons that graduated from Coronado High School and 2 daughters that are hoping to graduate from Coronado High School. I share this with you because my family has been around and attended Coronado as long as Coronado has existed. My mother has a stone at Yavapai Elementary School bringing out to light the 30 years of service that she gave to both Yavapai and this district. I share all this to tell you that I care about what's happening in our district. And I want to share with you that I'm also, not even half a mile away, the senior pastor of a local church with over 400-something members and about 100-something children that are scattered amongst Yavapai, Tonalea, Coronado, Saguaro, Tavan. And in all those discussions and all those networks, one common theme keeps coming up, and that's that we are all concerned. And we're dealing with issues that we haven't had to deal with before. As far as an entrenched and as loving this relationship with Coronado has been, for the first time, we are considering leaving. Not just the school, but the district itself. That is crazy. And the reason this is happening is because we have a long-term connection with the teachers. I'm trying to understand and I'm trying to give answers to people who are wondering, why is teacher morale at an all-time low? Why are highly qualified teachers with master's and doctorate degrees being invited to come and interview only to be told that they're not welcome back, even though they want to be part of the process? How are you going to replace them during a time when our state is dealing with low teacher shortages here? This is a very important issue for me. My students deserve great teachers. Where are they? From what I've heard so far, majority of them are leaving. That is a real concern for me. As a pastor, I often give counsel, and old ancient counsel says, unless 2 are in agreement, they can't walk together. I don't know if you've heard the voices that have been speaking lately, but you are not in agreement with a majority of people. Yes, there are going to be some that are upset for various reasons, but there is enough discontent. There's enough voices that say, let's take a moment and just slow down. When I was growing up here in this school district, I was taught, when there's a problem and you don't know the answer, ask the teacher. They have the answers. And that's what I want to ask this board to consider. Maybe take a pause and take the surveys that have been requested. Have some more interviews. Have more parent discussion. I am so entrenched in this neighborhood. I know the majority of these teachers, and I never got any advice or any opportunity to go to any meetings. And the meetings I did find out about weren't at a time that I could attend. Can we slow the process down? Allow people to speak into the process, be heard, be taken seriously, and maybe together we can come into agreement so that we don't lose the very value that this school is offered. We need some time for teachers. Even if you bring new teachers in, it takes time for them to connect with their teachers. Thank you for your time.
Pastor, before you leave, I would invite you to come meet with us. And in addition, I want to tell you that the positions for next year have all been hired. I do not want you to think the school does not have teachers, but I do invite you to come meet with us.
I would gladly do that, and what I'd be looking for is teachers that at least match the highly qualified teachers with a past of success.
Please come and meet with us.
Beth Parsons, and Ms. Parsons will be followed by Yolanda Murillo.
Good evening, President Perleberg, board members, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, and community members. My name is Beth Parsons, and I'm a professional educator in Scottsdale, a proud SEA member, a member of the executive board, and a voter. I'd first like to say thank you to President Perleberg and Sandy Kravitz for visiting the Redfield campus for our annual celebration of learning and art walk. I appreciate your visit to our campus and to my classroom. My teaching stats include 30 years, 3 schools, 8 classrooms, 5 grade levels, and I figure somewhere about 622 students. And in the spirit of Teacher Appreciation Week, I thought it appropriate to say thank you to some of the teachers and instructional leaders that have helped me and other teachers in this district engage, educate, empower every student every day in student-centered classrooms. I want to thank you for your professional development opportunities over the years, which have helped us to be student-centered. And to name just a few examples, shifts in instructional design, 4 C's of future-ready students, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity, accountable talk 1, 2, and 3, helping students to improve classroom discourse by learning strategies for having meaningful collaborative conversations and classroom discussions. STEM, connecting the dots presented by Discovery Education. STEM is about cultivating a culture that engages students creatively in problem solving and critical thinking. High impact strategies to impact student learning, including Socratic seminars. Tribes training, character counts, Kagan cooperative learning to improve student engagement through cooperative learning strategies. PLC work and book studies with colleagues to learn about growth mindset, accessible math, learning for all. This list doesn't even include content-specific professional development delivered by district personnel like Diane Murphy and Barbara Einart, who teach us about student-centered learning and increasing student engagement. Please continue to provide us with relevant professional development that reflects best practices and that is embedded in our workday. Thank you. Teachers want to make it clear that we are not disgruntled because our district is moving from being teacher-centric to student-centered. We are disgruntled because our opportunities to provide meaningful input into the decision-making process has diminished. We want our input to be valued and reflected in the decisions being made. We are disgruntled because the focus in this district has shifted away from collaboration and consensus building to notification and compliance. I am SUSD and have always been student-centered.
Buenas tardes, señora Birdwell, doctora, y a todos los miembros de la mesa directiva del Distrito Escolar de Scottsdale.
Good afternoon to all the members of the Scottsdale Unified District.
Aquí estoy en representación de la escuela de Tabán, de una escuela que tiene diversidad de alumnos.
I am here representing the School of Taban, a school that has a wide diversity in students.
Recientemente la escuela adquirió de nuevo su título de A+.
And recently this school was awarded with a title of A+.
Con lo cual los padres y todos los miembros de la comunidad, los maestros, estamos muy contentos con eso.
For which parents and all the members of the community are very happy.
Y estamos aquí apoyando a los maestros. Queremos continuar con nuestros mismos maestros, nuestra directora, apoyando los padres a nuestros hijos para que tengan éxito.
And we are here to support our teachers, our principal, and supporting our parents and teachers.
Las cosas han cambiado drásticamente últimamente. Nosotros deseamos que continúe todo lo bueno para seguir continuando con el éxito de nuestros estudiantes y que sepan que siempre tengan éxito en el futuro venidero.
Things have changed drastically lately, and we want to support our students so that they succeed in the near future.
Y también queremos ser representados, como es una escuela de diversidad, queremos ser representados por alguien que tenga diversidad y con respeto.
And since we are a school with diversity, we want to be represented by someone who respects us and has diversity.
Y como dije, el éxito está en el apoyo de los padres, los maestros y ustedes, los miembros de la Scottsdale Unified Distrito.
And as I said, success is in the teachers, the parents, and in you, the governing board meeting.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elizabeth Halverson, followed by John Bundy.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell and Sandra. I grew up in this district and have taught in this district for the last 10 years. I have always wanted to be a teacher. If you ask teachers why they chose to be a teacher, they will say things like, I like working with kids, or I had amazing teachers and I want to be that for a student, or I want to educate future generations, or I want to give back to my community. You do not hear teachers saying they got into education for the amount of money they will be making, or because they thought this job was going to be all about them. As teachers, our jobs and our lives revolve around our students. We may be home with our own families, but that doesn't mean we are disconnected from our profession. Most of us go home thinking about what still needs to be done for the next lesson or unit, how we could have improved a lesson, that student that was having a bad day. Our teachers are focused on students and how they are doing, but teachers want to be heard. They want to know that they are respected and valued. As teachers, we want our students to feel respected and valued, so it only seems right that we would be given the same courtesy. Our district has amazing teachers. I know. I was lucky to have many of them, some who will not be at Coronado any longer. I am lucky to work with amazing teachers, but the number of amazing teachers who leave this district year after year should tell us that there is a problem, and that problem is not going away. So what do we need to do to fix these problems? We need to open the lines of communication. We need to seek feedback from our teachers and staff, even if we aren't going to like what they have to say. You don't know what to fix if you don't know what the issue is. We need to allow teachers to be involved on committees and teams where they can help to improve this district. People who want to be there, not people who have been handpicked by administrators because they are yes people. We need pay raises that are actual raises. If you increase someone's pay but add on days, it's not a raise. It is great that we are bringing up beginning teacher pay, but what about the teachers who are 5 or 6 steps away from where they should be on the pay scale? If we're going to improve as teachers, give us PD that is valuable and resources that actually help. I have heard English and math talk about how helpful School City is, but it's not been helpful for us in social studies. If we're going to improve as teachers, give us time to PLC, embedded PLC time in our workday. I'm lucky to have the same prep as one of my PLC coworkers, but not the other. I've had numerous times this year where I've had double PLC meetings because I could meet with one. We couldn't find a time for all 3 of us to meet together, however. We teachers want to stay focused on our students. We want to stay in this district. Please help us to do so.
John Bundy will be followed by Pat Vasso.
Members of the board, Dr. Birdwell, I'm going to speak about 2 concerns I have had this year. The first concern comes from a statement that has been repeatedly made in board meetings and other places that SUSC wants to attract new teachers. I am a new teacher. I've spent my first year learning how to teach by being in the classroom and through various training programs. One program included the Coronado Literacy Plan, where every member of the English and History department spend 1 day a month learning how to teach our children how to better read and write. I was eager to do better and asked for help and feedback every time I had an observation and walkthrough, probably to the point that it bugged my administration how often I asked for help. But they have been so amazing to me this year and have helped me through so much my first year of teaching. I was eager to do better. I would seek out help when I needed it and welcomed feedback. In January, I was told I would have to reapply for my job. I went through all the steps, but come February, I never had another district personnel walk through my classroom. For the 3 weeks before the interview, no one came to see what I was like as a teacher. I went into my interview and was talked to for 20 minutes by a group of people that, again, had never seen me teach. Now, I realize as a teacher, that's a normal interview. I understand that. But if we're talking about how important Coronado is, the Success Initiative, is there a reason someone from district couldn't spend 5-10 minutes sitting in the classroom watching what these teachers are like as teachers? You won't know what a teacher is like from a 20-minute conversation asking them. The worst teacher in the world can give the best interview. And the best teacher in the world can give the worst interview. After this, I went in to get my letter. And being one of 3 social studies teachers to reapply, I was told I was not good enough for Coronado. I then had to spend spring break thinking about what I was going to do. I called members of the transfer board and was told that they would do everything they could to keep me in high school. Because since I was sophomore in high school, because of my teachers, that's all I've ever wanted to do. And then transfer protocols were changed. And after talking to everyone involved, I was told they would do what they could to get me in high school. And then I was put in Tonalea K-8. After everything that happened this year, after being told I was not good enough by the district, after everything a first-year teacher faces, the thing that got me not to want to come back to SUSD was not the money. It was not being told I was a Coronado reject on social media communities. It was the fact that I was told I was not welcomed as a high school teacher in this district. Thank you.
Colleagues in education. My name is Pat Fassot, and I'm a 5th grade teacher at Anasazi Elementary. In my 14 years in the Scottsdale School District, I've been fortunate to work, amazingly, with over 400 students, and this doesn't count my time at Camp Invention in the summer. In these 14 years, I have also consistently used students' academic data to inform my instruction and to collaborate with my grade level teams to meet the needs of all of our students. Now, many of my colleagues of Anasazi would have liked to be present tonight to support the conversation that is so important, but they are spending the evening away from their families on our campus. Tonight is our annual Art Walk. It's a celebration of students working creatively to demonstrate their understanding of art standards, as well as the grade levels content standards that our inspiring art teacher, Cassandra Maurer, has integrated into her program. Teachers are also on campus tonight to support the work of the parents who make up our PTO. The PTO has organized another successful fundraiser that generates important funds to support every student at Anasazi. And in the past few years, the PTO was able to purchase 6 laptop carts for our students, giving each grade level access to these critical and basic STEM tools. All of us at Anasazi make our students the center of everything we do. I am Anasazi. I'm SEA. I am SUSD, and we are all SUSD. Thank you.
Bonnie Bizon, followed by Carrie Kurland.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Bizon, and I'm the music teacher at Kiva Elementary and the secretary of the Scottsdale Education Association. I am 9 days away from completing my national board certification. Thank you, SUSD, for the ways you support us in this. I see a few of my coaches. I promise I'm going home to write tonight. I have been teaching in Scottsdale for 14 years, And in that time, I have fostered creativity in over 2,000 different students. In December of this year, the Saguaro Theater students and Kiva kids combined to do the first ever joint musical production of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, joint between elementary and high school. We didn't do this because we were ordered to, or even asked to. We didn't do it because it was part of a mandated program. We didn't do it because it made our day easier or allowed us to go home earlier. We did it because we saw an opportunity to connect our communities in a way that would increase bonds of friendship while teaching students skills that they could use as they move from Kiva to Mojave to Saguaro, keeping our complexes alive. We did it because it was a way the performing arts could do their part to retain students and help them find their niche, their confidence, and their core group of friends. We did it because the best research shows that students engaged in music are more likely to excel in all of their studies, to work better in teams, to have enhanced critical thinking skills, to stay in school, and to pursue education. We did it not because it's best for teachers, but because it was best for kids. I was inspired by the Saguaro students who mentored and nurtured and babysat our Kiva kiddos. They acted as big brothers and sisters, while the Kiva kids adopted the Saguaro students as role models and heroes and friends. They still come to my room and ask about the Saguaro kids. What are they doing? What are they up to? My wish and hope for SUSD is that we could find a narrative that inspires us to think these big thoughts together, to trust that our teachers are skilled, hardworking, and professional, and to stop the negative rhetoric that our Scottsdale teachers aren't invested in each and every one of our students for both their short-term and long-term success. Teachers do not teach for the joy of their paycheck. We teach because we think it's important to help our society raise its children to be thoughtful, skillful, productive, and caring adults. It's all about the students, and to suggest that teachers think otherwise is only further demoralizes a teacher population that is struggling under the weight of a decade of cuts. We are shouldering the burden of changing state and national mandates, continually doing more with less as gracefully as humanity allows. There is no reason to do this job if it wasn't for the students. They are and will always be the best part of my day.
Carrie Kurland will be followed by Chris Martin.
Thank you, Governing Board, Dr. Birdwell, and Mrs. Como for the opportunity to speak. My name is Carrie Kurland, and I have been a teacher in SUSD for 20 years, and I would not trade a moment of my time here. In those 20 years, I've impacted the lives of over 600 students. Tonight, though, I am here as a grateful SUSD parent. When my son Andy was born, there was no doubt he would attend Scottsdale schools. He got an excellent start in Jackie Fleming's kindergarten class at Hohokam. Jackie's a master teacher who taught my boy everything he needed to know and instilled a love of learning in him that still exists today. Thank you, Jackie. I also want to thank all of his teachers in the foreign language immersion program at Pueblo in Mojave. Because of their hard work and dedication, I'm proud to say he is fluent in Spanish and has now moved on to learning Japanese at Desert Mountain High School. Transitioning to high school at Desert Mountain was difficult for Andy, and I worried he'd struggle to fit in. I needn't have. Principal Nikki Wolfert and her teachers went out of their way to make sure his needs were addressed. With the guidance of teachers like Sherry North and Marilyn Mumau, my son is now excelling academically, fitting in socially, and is happy. On Teacher Appreciation Day, I am not just appreciative, but forever in debt to the generous spirit and caring attitudes of every single teacher my child has been blessed to have. These people are my champions. They have taken my greatest gift and encouraged him to shine. SUSD teachers take great pride in the love and focus we have for our students, and I wish to express my gratitude for my fellow professionals. Thank you, teachers, for all you do for my child and for all the children in SUSD.
Chris Martin will be followed by Julie Shanowski.
Good evening, governing board members, Dr. Birdwell and Ms. Como. I'm reading this for a gifted teacher at Kiva Elementary, Jennifer Liebeber. I apologize if I said her name wrong, who couldn't be here tonight, but wanted to share this story with the board. Ms. Liebeber has been teaching for 19 years and holds an elementary certificate and gifted K-12 certificate. She's impacted the lives of over 600 students in our district. Here is what she would like to share. This past weekend, I had the incredible honor of being invited to a celebration of this year's Flynn Scholars as a guest of Cameron White, an SUSD student who earned this prestigious Arizona scholarship. Cameron was my student in the gifted program at Kiva for 4 years in grades 3 through 6. When Cameron invited me to this event, I had no idea that the banquet was also to recognize the educators who most influenced each scholar's educational journey. Of Cameron's many teachers, he chose me. One thing that impressed me was that I was the only elementary teacher invited to attend. Most of the other Flynn Scholars honored influential middle or high school educators. As Cameron introduced me to the other honorees, he described my creative and innovative teaching strategies, and that I inspired him to love math. I realized that while we educate, empower, and inspire our students every day, it is rare to see our hard work come to fruition years later. This was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and it reminded me that every educator that touches a student's life contributes to their success. My hope for the future of SUSD is that we all remember that each one of us makes a difference to the lives of our students, and that it takes a village to educate a child. We must work together and trust in one another to make the best possible choices for the students of SUSD. Thank you very much.
There is no Julie, so Roni Asali is our final speaker.
Good evening, Madam President, governing board members, Dr. Birdwell, and Ms. Como. First, it would be remiss if I did not recognize all of these celebrations that we had at the beginning of this. There were tons of people celebrating many things, and I think it's awesome, and it's a proof of the capacity that our students have and our teachers have and our community members have when they come together to achieve something that clearly is an investment, something that didn't just happen overnight. Lots of time and energy went into it. I've been teaching in Scottsdale for 10 years, and for those 10 years, I've volunteered to serve on the Climate Committee, Tech Committee, Liaison Committee, School Improvement Team, the Core Team Committee, and Site Council, just at the site. On the School Improvement Team, school goals were authentically discussed, designed, and implemented by site admin with teachers, never two teachers. And when I say with teachers, I'm talking there were 20 people on the actual committee. So a quarter of our school sat on the School Improvement Team committee because everyone's voice needed to be in the room, from special ed to fine arts to math to social studies, to make sure that we come up with the best plan. Our year focused, we've had several focuses. One year as a school, we came up with a goal of every teacher focusing on 5 students and being champions of those 5 students, going above and beyond and seeing how powerful it could be to not just be their teacher and make sure that you support them, but really take those extra steps. One year we focused on reading and writing across the curriculum and every single content. Another year we focused on student engagement. How do you gamify your classroom using things like Breakout EDU or incorporate technology such as Google Classroom? The trainings were all in-house. Our teachers volunteered themselves, gave up their time to train other teachers to make sure that we focus on student learning. Our technology committee still at Arcadia offers about 2 trainings a quarter where teachers give up their lunch period to open it up to train other teachers at Arcadia to come in, give up their lunch so they can focus on student learning and kids. A standard teaching week for me meant that Monday was technology meeting day at lunch, Tuesday was school improvement team meeting, Wednesday was the math department meeting, Thursday was designated for students and test makeups, and Friday at lunch was my geometry meeting. We discussed assessments, learning objectives, student progress, success, challenges, best practices, how to help students, all while making sure that we keep them engaged. Never mandatory, never expected, never micromanaged, but always meaningful, always authentic, and always student-focused. I love my students. I love that they love being in my classroom because it's safe. because we are thoughtful with how we treat each other and how we speak with each other, because we laugh and we play and we learn, and they see and feel successful and know their unlimited potential. And I thought I was student-centered, but I found out that apparently I'm not student-centered. I am more teacher-centered than I am student-centered. So a question has already come up. What do you mean by that? Do you mean that we have safeguards in place that limit the number of hours teachers can go to meetings after school? Is that being teacher-centered? Or we don't require lots of paperwork to be submitted so teachers can focus on students? If student-centered means requiring teachers to put in more time, then you have it wrong, because nothing will be student-centered when your teachers are burned out. I live here, I teach here, and I will raise my kids here, and I am SUSD.
Thank you all. Next, the board president calls upon Dr. Birdwell to present the superintendent's comments.
I see purses moving and people thinking about leaving, so I actually hope you stay. Let me first say, Governing Board, I am in deep appreciation for allowing me to miss the last board meeting to go home for a funeral. I want to thank the Scottsdale community and the hundreds of cards that I received in condolences of the loss of my mother. She has been extremely ill, and it's been a very long journey when you deal with somebody with terminal illnesses. So I am sorry I wasn't here last week to listen, a week and a half ago, but I had other urgent business to deal with. In addition to that, I lost a good friend yesterday in our good friend Jim Heathers, and I send my condolences to his family as well, and to his friends here in Scottsdale. He's been an important part of what we've done, and certainly a welcoming face since I arrived. And it is with a great loss, saying goodbye to him as well. Now that said, it is Teacher Appreciation Week. And although it's been difficult for me to find celebration in life right now, we have celebrated and we have sent some positive messages out to our teachers, and I continue to do that. I am sorry that the 20-minute interview was only 2 minutes on Channel 12. Because one of the things that I said, and I always will believe, is that I am first and foremost an educator and a teacher. And second to that, I believe in students. And they are the core of all decisions that I make, just like many of you. We do appreciate our teachers. I know that we're going through a difficult time, and I hope that you're sincere with some of your messages, because I too cannot agree more that it is time to put down the negative rhetoric in order to move forward and find a common ground. And I also truly believe that our common ground should be that of the student. And I will hope that some of you would be willing to come to the table to have conversations. I know that in the aspect of communication, I'm going to send another email, and I'm sorry I don't get to come meet with 3,000 employees individually, but the only way I do communicate to 3,000 is to send an email. But I will be sending an email about communications and celebrating the fact that we are expanding opportunities for Scottsdale teachers to be instructional leaders next year. And I hope the teachers will go through the process of, yes, interviewing with their principal so that they can talk about the great things they would bring to that position as a teacher leader to be able to be part of the instructional development of a campus. 3 at every elementary school that have not existed that are new. 4 at every middle school, again, that have not existed that are new positions. And 5 at each high school. To be part of a team that will provide the professional development and an opportunity for teachers to communicate their needs for professional development to a teacher who's a colleague, not an evaluator. We are also asking principals to identify 2 teachers who want to be part of communication. We had a meeting 2-3 weeks ago where we had 2 teachers and a principal come to the district office and talk to us about what are the qualities of instructional leadership. And it was greatly received, and we appreciated the input that we received and the eye-opening conversations that we had. We plan to continue those every other month next year, to continue to meet with 2 teachers and their principal to talk about the larger initiatives, with the idea that those teachers will come back to the campus to communicate with their colleagues about what's happening in Scottsdale. That's a new initiative because we want communication. we will probably be looking at a facilitator to come and work with us and the SEA, because we do want to talk. We do want communication. There are hurt feelings on both sides of the table. We need someone to help facilitate that. It's not easy to sit here. It's not easy to sit in your seat. But I need you to understand something. I care about the students in Scottsdale, and I care about the teachers in Scottsdale, and I care about the administrators, and I care about our parents and our community. So I am open to dialogue and conversation, but it must be open and transparent and honest, and not hidden behind closed doors, and not where one side isn't invited to the conversation with people who can't resolve the issue, because the issues will only be resolved when we come together. And I hope that we will have teachers who will volunteer to be a part of that. There have also been teachers who have expressed that they have not been allowed to be on committees. We want teachers on committees, so I hope that you will read the memo that I send you that talks about all the ways to engage and how to communicate and how we want your input. Also, last week, it was unfortunate that I missed a great time to celebrate wonderful teachers in the Charles event. We celebrated 33 of our outstanding teachers and 10 of our graduating seniors. And I understand it was a wonderful event, and it's one that I look forward to every year. But I have to tell you, the 33 teachers have hundreds of teachers that stand behind them that are just as important and could be just as celebrated. We just get to touch the tip of the iceberg when we celebrate those teachers on that night. And I wish I could have been there to say how proud we were of them, but to also pass a message to them to say, and I know you represent more teachers in your building that are doing a great job. So I hope that those that are here tonight or those who will log on will hear that message. We know when we only get to celebrate 33 that there are hundreds behind them are also working just as hard and just as diligent to meet the needs of students. But I appreciate that the Charles do recognize at least 33 of you. It's tough to get out and get everybody recognized, but this is Teacher Appreciation Week. I also want to say that we have been trying to improve on some communication, and I will say that we have lots of growth in that area, by all means. And don't think that these 5 people haven't all met with me individually to express their concerns about growing communication. And we started that by how we're handling, moving forward, the Hopi construction project, the Cheyenne project, and engaging the community in those conversations and having some public meetings up and coming. Those bond projects are moving forward. Aaron has added to the website bond project navigation so that parents can see what's going on every campus, because every campus is being touched somehow through the bond and the capital override. We have wonderful students in our school. You got to see some of them tonight. We're continuing in the playoffs of the sports events. We have 2 of our high school baseball teams, Arcadia and Chaparral, who are also battling against each other to get the right to go to the Maryville Stadium to be in the 5A state baseball tournament. Just wish we didn't have to fight against ourselves and we could send both of them. We also have our best wishes sent out to the Chaparral softball team, who also is out at Verado in the 5A tournament. So we hope that our teams continue and our students continue to achieve, but I'm going to say this on this week of Teacher Appreciation. Behind every student achievement is an outstanding teacher and a supportive parent. And it's a partnership. It's the first green card I've gotten tonight. Thank you. I wondered if I shouldn't do red. I don't know what they stand for, but I'm hoping green meant good. So thank you for that, Susan. Behind every student are great teachers doing terrific jobs, parents who are supportive, and administrators who are leading. Scottsdale has so much potential, but if we believe we have arrived, then we will never get where we need to be. We have room for growth. We all do. And I hope that we will find a common ground around that student and commit ourselves to improving for all of our students. That's our vision. That's my vision. Let's take care of our students, and by taking care of our students, let's take care of our teachers, because they are the greatest influence on student achievement. And we know we need to take good care of you. And I know tonight there was some tongue-in-cheek remarks about teachers' salaries. There's not a greater unpaid profession in the state of Arizona than teaching. And it is our goal as a governing board and as a superintendent to continue to put money into salaries. The first 2% did not come easily. We laid off 40 plus people to raise the money to give salary increases. The budget before the governor adds another 1%. There's other money there, but it comes with caveats, and it has not been signed yet. We know you need to be paid more. I can't give you enough thank yous. And I know you really don't mean it when you say money doesn't matter, because it does matter. But in addition to that is environment, and it's professional development. And in that environment, there must be trust. I want to earn your trust. I want to give you trust. We've got some healing to do. But I believe we can do it because I know you love Scottsdale and you love our children. So let's find a way to come together because we both care. Thank you for being here tonight and being honest with your thoughts.
Thank you. We move on to agenda item 7, our consent agenda. The consent agenda does have one amendment, item 7N, award of request for proposal 17064 for math. Oh, sorry. Sorry. That's fine. Just getting through. A little break or good? Okay. That's the goal. That's the goal. I'll speak loudly. Okay. All right. The consent agenda does have one amendment, item 7N, award of request for proposal 17064 for math-based intervention tools. That item has been added. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Thank you, Board Member Kravitz. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Board Member Kirby. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And next, let's see here, sorry. We will move next to our information discussion item, 8A, discussion regarding Senate Bill 1431. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. We will take a moment. We will take a 2-minute, 3-minute break. We're going to pause for just a moment.
Cheryl Redner. Director of Curriculum, we are honored to have somebody who's been part of the Scottsdale family in the past. She went off to some district over in the east, was an amazing leader, led in the area of curriculum and development, and all other as assigned, as typically happens, and was a star and did an amazing job. And we are so pleased to bring back one of Scottsdale's own to be our Director of Curriculum. Cheryl, we're so happy to have you as part of our team.
Thank you. Yes, welcome back. Okay, so agenda item 7, consent agenda, take 2. The consent agenda does have one amendment, item 7N, award of request for proposal 17064 for math-based intervention tools has been added. Do I have a motion to approve the consent? I'm sorry. Did we vote? Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I thought we got cut in half. I am so sorry. All right. Sorry. Then now we are moving on to our information discussion item. Oh, this is 8A, discussion regarding Senate Bill 1431, expansion of education savings account. Dr. Birdwell, would you like to begin?
From time to time, a governing, I've got to shorten my mic, I apologize. From time to time, a governing board gets asked to discuss a certain bill that may come forward. We have a board member who brought forth the question of could we discuss this, and of course from the ASBA there has been some question of whether or not boards should weigh in. It's difficult for a board anytime there's a political issue that comes forward. So as voted representatives of a community, one of the hardest pieces is that you represent a community. And so in that broad spectrum, and Scottsdale, as I'm learning over and over, is very unique in its political representation. It is definitely a very mixed group. So I open up the conversation. The other piece of that, let me add this caveat. The community also sometimes look to you because you are a voted public school board to understand where you stand, to help them understand an issue. And this is one of these controversial issues that has been out there that's been a conversation in many political arenas. So I invite you to have a bit of a conversation which might help your constituents understand the issue. And I think Member Hartman had some ideas in that area.
Board Member Hartman.
So, thank you, Dr. Birdwell. Is this working? No.
Don't think so. Do you have the green line on?
Oh. All right. Yeah, thank you. Oh, it's working, okay. Thank you, Dr. Birdwell and President Perleberg. I appreciate the opportunity for this discussion. Although I believe that ASMA's attempt to bring positive awareness to Senate Bill 1431, Empowerment Scholarship Account, through its resolution, there was an intent to do it, I don't believe the political tone or the negative cast of public education in that resolution actually achieves that outcome. But what I do believe that is very important is that we as education leaders speak out to what is in the best interest of public education and take away the politics. Just focus on education and focus on the students. As governing board members in a governing body, I don't know what your experience is, but mine is very often that my neighbors, my friends, community members come up to me and ask me, what do I think about a particular educational policy? Or what do I think about a legislative issue? And they look to me to actually, they're interested in opinion, and I share, and I try to be as fair as possible. It's that role as an education leader that I think is really important for us to speak out on things that are important and have a conversation about it. There's not necessarily an absolute right or an absolute wrong answer, but the community at large does not have a great understanding of many education policies, and they look to us for our opinion because we spend tens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of hours a year on public education. So what I think we have to say is actually really important, and it's incumbent upon us as education leaders to say that. So I just want to share with you that I want to invite that conversation for us so that we inform our community. From the data and the research and the results that I've really steeped myself in, I do not see a strong support for the expansion of the ESA policy. The data as to the impact of empowerment scholarship accounts on student academic achievement is incomplete and inconclusive. The ability to track and monitor actual spending of these tax dollars is not yet in place. And the loss of additional already very limited public education dollars will directly impact our classroom. So for me, the expansion of programs, the expansion of this program without the proper checks and balances is not in the best interest of public education, our students, or our taxpayers. So I believe it's incumbent upon me, it's incumbent upon us as education leaders to communicate to our community that the expansion of the Empowerment Scholarship Account at this time does not benefit our Scottsdale Unified School District students. So with that, I just invite conversation. I appreciate us having this opportunity to have this conversation. And if possible, maybe there is a resolution that allows us to communicate to our community in words that we're comfortable with about our position on the expansion of ESAs. So thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Any questions from board members?
I just wanted to get some clarity from you, Kim, on what it is.
Board Member Kravitz?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
What it is that you are requesting, just to come to develop our own resolution?
So twofold. One, just to have a conversation, because with open meeting laws, we're actually not really able to have this conversation. So it's really just to have a conversation about this empowerment scholarship account, because I think our community looks to us for what our opinion is. But two, yes, if we can get to a place that we can actually craft some wording on a resolution that we collectively feel comfortable about on the ESAs, I would very much like to do that as well.
Okay. Well, can I continue? Yes. I'll be brief, and I'll try and temper my remarks since I'm at a board meeting. I personally detest the expansion of ESAs for many reasons. And I don't think I need to go into them here if you know me. However, the way, and I don't want to disappoint people, but I may. The way the ASBA resolution is written, it says representing people in our community. And our community is very broad, and it includes some legislative districts that may have residents that think that ASA expansion is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I do not necessarily agree with them, but as a board member, I represent them. I would be happy anytime to have a discussion with them as to why I may disagree with them. But as we haven't polled our whole community as to what their feeling is about ESAs, I would like to think people would think the same way I do, but maybe they don't. I would be interested in perhaps crafting our own statement. We have issues in our district. We have a history in our district that is different and unique than to other districts. So, if we can come up with something, great. I do think that as board members, if we have an opinion about ESAs, that it is incumbent upon us to express those as well. I hope that made sense. Thank you.
Board Member Kirby.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to, this concept of crafting our own resolution is an interesting one, which I have thought of as well. However, personally as a board member, I would like to see us craft a resolution that focuses on the issues that we have here in Scottsdale Unified. For example, I would like for us to craft a resolution that commits to increasing teacher pay by a certain percentage, by a certain year certain. I would like for us to have a resolution that commits to increasing student achievement at each school to a certain level by a certain year certain, a year certain. That, I think, would help not only answer your question, but I think it might help answer this other question of where are we headed. It would start to frame what's important to us here in Scottsdale and what's important to this board. We've talked about it in public meetings that nobody came to, but we have discussed it, and maybe this is the way to do it.
No, sorry.
No, Board Member Kravitz.
I agree with you. I think if we craft something that expresses what we are for and where we hope to move our district so that we are the choice for our community. When I was growing up, you went to the public school because people questioned why weren't you going to the public school, district public school. And we need to bring the focus back to our district, and we need to commit to our community that we are, show our community that we're committed to moving forward so that we become the choice and that our competitors around us have empty buildings. Thank you.
Any other comments? I'm happy to add, Board Member Beckham, if you'd like.
I guess I should weigh in since you asked if we could have a conversation, so I feel like I should. As regarding the resolution, it seems like the resolution you're asking for is on the Senate Bill 1431. And so I don't know that I am prepared. Well, I know I'm not prepared tonight, that's for sure, but prepared to make a resolution regarding that because of the diversity in our community. And I really have to think long and hard, is it the place of the governing board to have a resolution like that? And now to answer Board Member Kirby's inquiry, which I thought was fascinating, and I thought one that I know that we have talked about, at least the board's talked about in the past, and when I have discussed it with leadership, not including other board members, my understanding is we are going to be determining those goals this summer after we get the assessment results and whatnot. So I don't know that we need a resolution because I was under the impression that we were going to be setting some policy and with very specific goals regarding student achievement. And so that, just putting out there what my understanding was, and if it's different from what I understood, let's talk about that so I can get some clarity. Thank you.
Thank you. It's easy for me to add on that comment as well as Board Member Kirby's. I too, like Board Member Kravitz, as an individual, I have very strong feelings about ESAs and I have very strong opinion, and I am never shy to share it with anyone who wants to talk to me individually. I'm very supportive of those who question whether ESAs are right for our education and right for our state. And I'm very supportive of that, and I encourage all our stakeholders in SUSD to become engaged in that debate. However, like some of you expressed, as a member of a nonpartisan, non-political governing body, I do not believe it is appropriate for the collective voice of this board to speak on behalf of all our constituents in this manner. I would be incredibly supportive of continuing our focus and our discussions on the direction of our public education in SUSD, our classrooms in SUSD, continue all the hard work we've been doing as a board. And I've been very proud of these last 3-4 months that we've done as a board in defining for ourselves the direction we want our district to head. I am eager to continue those conversations, as I know our administration and our teachers and our parents and our students are as well. So I say we keep on that focus and keep moving forward in that manner. So that's fine. Board Member Hartman.
Thank you, and this is the conversation that I wanted to have, and so I'm actually very appreciative that everyone shared their comment, and for the most part, it looks like we have fairly good consensus, or shared consensus, I wouldn't say good, but shared consensus with respect to seeing that empowerment scholarship accounts do not benefit our students. And I also agree that I want to take the politics out of this conversation because it does not, it specifically is not, I was not supporting addressing SB 1431. It's the policy, just the general policy of ESAs or vouchers. So if we can craft some language that's apolitical and represents where we're at, I'd love to be able to do that in a collaborative way. We can figure that out. And then I also really support whether it's a resolution or it's a policy, and being really clear on what our goals are as a district, specifically around our goals around teacher salaries and student achievement and other really, there's probably a couple of other important topics in there. So thank you.
All right, if there's no further comment, we will move on to our next information discussion item, 8B. Sorry, Board Member Beckham. Sorry.
Could I ask one question? So, because somebody else might need the clarification like I do. Could you please define resolution versus policy?
Well, Well, Miss Marshall, in case I say it wrong, why don't you just get close to a mic? Policy is actually adopted by a governing board requiring the 2 reads and becomes part of our handbook. Policy is typically written to support statute. It is aligned to the statute. A resolution, however, is much more of a philosophical statement and a stance that one takes on an issue that does not direct staff to do anything or implement a particular law. It just simply is a philosophical statement and a resolution, but that it doesn't typically direct staff. Now, Ms. Marshall, I probably murdered that.
Absolutely not. Well said.
Oh,
Exactly what
gosh.
I would have said.
I'm feeling good now. That's great.
All right. I wish I had a green card for you. Oh.
I'll get you one of those.
All right. All right. Thank you. Anything
All right.
further? All right. Now we will again move on to information discussion item 8B, revision to Code of Conduct, 2017-2018 school year.
So I'm going to tell you, we have 2 ladies in front of us to talk about student code of conduct and some input in that regard to that absolutely do an amazing job working with students and families and administrators in regard to student conduct. And I have to tell you, Dr. Sakos and Ms. Marshall are a dynamite team, and this year I've had a chance to get to know them a little bit better, and I'm very proud of the work that they do.
Well, thank you, Dr. Birdwell. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell and Sandra, we're here this evening to provide our annual update on our Code of Conduct. Much like I shared during the student dress code presentation last week, we have a process and participation from many different I got all caught up on myself. We have a representation from many different departments as well as administrators representing K-12. And you heard from our student advisory board this evening, and I agree with everything that was said about them. They are articulate, they are smart, they provide feedback very constructively, even though it may not be popular feedback, but they were able to give us feedback not only on the student dress code, but on the uniform code of conduct as well. The committee also reviews discipline data. This includes not only our office discipline referrals, but we look at the Arizona Youth Survey, which we also share with the students. We look to make sure that we have all updated language specific to state and federal laws. And with the legal extern this year from ASU and Michelle's department, she did a phenomenal job going through and really cleaning all of that up for us. And then we also make sure that once the Uniform Code of Conduct is updated with the appropriate statutes and regulations, and we also look to see if there are any recommended changes for the Athletic Code of Conduct and work with the athletic director and site athletic directors to align that as well with middle school and high school. With that, I wanted to share with you our top behavioral infractions this year and by level. So if you look at elementary and K-8, the top 2 behavioral infractions, and these are what we call our office discipline referrals. We have minor aggressive act and defiance and disrespect. At the middle school level, our top runner for office discipline referral is defiance and disrespect and disruptive behavior. And at the high school level, defiance and disrespect and tobacco. We have seen a lot with the e-cigarettes. And I remember last year the question from Board Member Kirby around e-cigarettes and how we were handling that. We handle it the way that we do as a tobacco-like product. With that, we also had a heightened awareness this year in looking at our bullying, harassment, and hazing. So what you see in front of you are 3 years of data, beginning on the right, the 2014-15 school year, and then 2015-16, and then 2016-17, which was up to date, so last week. With that, you can see that in 2014-15, we had 3 incidents of hazing. Last year, we had 2 incidents of hazing, and this year we have not seen any reported incidents of hazing on our school campuses. In terms of harassment, you can kind of see it's flatline across the board. We have over 140 incidents, and this is K-12 data of harassment, and then bullying, you can see, has ranged from 46 to 57. And even with the small number such as 2 with hazing, that is still something that continues to concern us, and is something we have a heightened awareness on. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle just to talk a little bit. Well, I'll do this slide first, but so our targeted areas for continuous improvement are in the areas of defiance and disrespect. So we're going to continue to work with our staff and our teachers on best practices, low intensity strategies to engage students and to redirect students in appropriate behavior. Sounds like an easy task. It is not, but we have seen this defiance and disrespect trend for many, many years, and this is actually the #1 violation in the state as well. So we are not isolated with having this as a top offense. Our neighboring schools in the state, this is the #1 violation as well. Alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, specifically the tobacco-like products. We, at one of our neighboring schools last week, had to send out a notice to families that one of them exploded in the child's hand while at school. So it does not only have the harmful effects from inhaling whatever they put in those things, but it's also one of those very dangerous explosive devices that you sometimes see in the media. And then bullying, harassment, and hazing. This one continues to be something that we want to educate our students on, educate our staff on, and ensure that we have no tolerance for bullying, harassment, and hazing on our campuses. So with that, I'll let Michelle talk about our current policies, regulations, exhibits, what we do with our yearly training, and what we plan to do with our outreach to our student leaders this upcoming year.
Thank you, Dr. Sakos. I've had some conversations with a few of you offline and with Dr. Birdwell and other staff about some of the recent news-making incidents regarding hazing, hate crimes, harassment, identity-based crimes, particularly religious discrimination. The Jewish community has seen an uptick in incidents nationally and locally, as well as anti-Muslim acts. The Hamilton sexual assaults that are also characterized as hazing, the recent Penn State hazing death. These are things that are in the news and on our minds, and wanted to talk a little bit about what we already do and some ideas we've been talking about to highlight those issues for our staff and students and make sure that people understand what the rules are, what to look for, and who to tell if you're a student or somebody else who has felt harassed or hazed or has an issue with that kind of problem. So I wanted to first talk about some of the policies we have in place. We have an anti-bullying policy that tracks our Arizona state statute. It's policy JICK. It's entitled Bullying, Harassment, and Hazing. That is our policy that we've had for several years since the statute came out, and before, actually, we revised it when the statute came out. Now that policy focuses mostly on bullying, but it does talk about harassment and intimidation. And we do, and have done for many years, an annual training to our staff to make sure that they are aware. The statute and the policy require every one of us who is an employee of this district to report it if we see it, and report it up if it's reported to us. And we have a timeline for investigating. We have forms that Dr. Sakos and I worked on to inform parents of what we're doing. We've received your complaint, we've investigated it, here's what we've concluded, and here's what we're doing to address the problem when we find one. So annually, that's a required training for staff, both an online training, and then we take it on the road for those who can't do the online training, and also because it's better to have that live back and forth so employees can ask those questions. We specifically go to transportation, which is great because a lot of these incidents will occur in the sort of less structured time on buses or on playgrounds. So we like to talk to transportation and building services employees and remind them as well that they have just as much responsibility as a teacher would if you see something, to do something about it. Another policy that we have that we don't talk about that much, but that goes right along with the anti-bullying policy is JICFA, which is entitled hazing. And so that policy is specific to the hazing issues. Now, JICFA is something that, in addition to the mandatory training that we do every year for all staff, is something that I focus on by going to our coaches meetings and meeting with ADs seasonally. I go 3 or 4 times a year to speak with our coaches. I've done that with Cliff McKinsey in the past. I look forward to doing that with Nathan Slater coming forward. So in those trainings, we talk not only about hazing, looking out for those hate crimes, those issues of identity, of discrimination on the basis of someone's identity, but also particular to Title IX, gender discrimination. Not only does Title IX talk about are we providing adequate facilities for boys and girls, but it also talks about equal opportunities for boys and girls to have the same opportunities to access education. And so that is an issue that OCR has focused on more recently with respect to gender discrimination, not only in sports, but in general. And so we like to remind our coaches in particular, but staff in general, to look out for those issues. My next part of this was on training, but I think I've hit everything. I'll just remind you that in addition to the training that I've already talked about, we do get in front of principals and APs on a regular basis. We will have some time with the Admin Academy that happens in the summer. And other school staff as they will have me at their campuses. I always invite our principals to have me over whenever it's convenient for them. I'll go on the road to make it more convenient.
So, Governing Board, we've had some conversations I want to share with you. It's not the knowledge of the training that is so critical as we move forward, but it's the consistency of implementing these policies. And so the heavy focus on the training next year is how to create consistency from building to building. And that is a greater challenge than the policy itself. It's been around long enough about hazing and bullying, and we know that, but it's about making sure that every building is consistent. And then no matter what building I'm assigned to as a teacher, I know what kind of support I'm going to get when it comes to student behavior. So we have some work to do in that area, and that's the piece that we'll be working on this summer and through the fall and through next year. And it is a challenge for us. It's not a Scottsdale issue. It's a challenge anywhere you go when you have 30 different buildings and 30 different individuals who are implementing policies. It's just a challenge when it comes to student discipline. So we are going to be taking that on. So I don't want to underscore when she's talking about her training. She's being very kind, but the reality is it is a challenge that she takes on, and I appreciate that work.
All right, so in closing, you have received the red line version of our code of conduct. Again, a lot of it had to do with the revisions to the language in statute, aligning that language, and there was not a lot of substantive changes other than, again, that alignment. And with that, we have our continuous improvement areas to work on, and we're happy to answer any questions or entertain some feedback.
Okay, great. Board Member Kirby.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your comments, Dr. Birdwell. So the training over the summer, will it address all areas of the code of conduct or just the ones that were in the presentation tonight?
No, actually, we haven't sat down and made the list, but we're going to take obviously we're going to take the highly hit areas, because you want to hit those areas where we see an increase in escalation, but also the areas where we get together and share the conversations that parents have brought to us, because we do get a lot of emails at the district level from parents who have struggled with the implementation of certain policies, and bringing those forward for conversation to create that. And then those areas where we know we're seeing escalation, such as when it comes to those policies that begin to get into respect and demeanor and behaviors such as cheating, plagiarism, copyright, some of those other aspects that sometimes don't seem important, but they're critically important in an academic environment. So, yes, it goes a little bit beyond that.
Okay, thank you. Because I was just going, and I think that will address it, but ask you to look at infractions beyond just the heavy infractions to see if there's areas where there's very few infractions and that just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense that in a school district with 22,000 kids, there's just that few of that kind of an infraction, which means it's an enforcement opportunity, and to try to figure out why isn't the code of conduct being consistently enforced, or maybe in some cases enforced at all.
Absolutely, and I, Board Member Kirby, I have the pleasure of working with colleagues in the Valley that have a like role to mine, and we often compare and look at where are your increases in office discipline referrals, where are you with academic dishonesty, what does your bullying look like, to have those conversations so that, again, it does bring a heightened awareness to areas that perhaps we're not paying close attention to, or maybe we need to pay close attention to. Yes, the dress code we did look at last. That will be on our list as well. And just to add to the level of focus on an individual campus is also going to depend on the individual school's data and their Arizona Youth Survey. So we've already began that dialogue with our campuses. So while we see it from a 30,000-foot view from the state, from the school district, we also give our schools the data and have them meet by learning communities so they can also look at trends within that learning community. And then we can target training and interventions a little bit further. But these are kind of the bigger picture items that we're going to make sure that, you know, we address with all of our schools.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Any, Board Member Beckham?
Thank you for making this a focus and bringing all this to our attention. I have one question that I think is on everybody's mind. On the bullying, do you break it down by physical versus cyberbullying, and are you seeing, and if you do, is the cyberbullying increasing, or in our district, is it just about the same as it's been?
Within our student information system, it is not broken down by, you know, face-to-face bullying versus cyberbullying, but anecdotally I can tell you that much of the bullying that occurs today that gets brought to my attention, there is some type of nexus to some type of social media. It's overwhelming to know, to see where a lot of this occurs with our students. Either somebody's talking about it, it happened on Snapchat, it happened on Instagram, but we see a very big connection to social media.
So that number that you had, the 56 in this year, how is that determined?
So those are, every report of bullying is investigated by the school administrator. And sometimes it doesn't rise to the level of bullying, but when it does, it's entered into the student information system as bullying. Sometimes it goes more into the harassment, because remember, bullying is repeated over time, imbalance of power, and sometimes it's a single act of unkindness. Harassment could be, now harassment does break it up sexual and non-sexual, so sometimes it falls into other categories than bullying, but bullying is really defined as that repeat over time, imbalance of power, and a lot of times we're investigating reports of bullying that don't rise to the legal definition of that.
Can I ask one more question? Yeah. Since you mentioned that the cyberbullying and the social media abuse is on the rise, can you speak specifically how we're trying to prevent that? Is there special training? What's happening, and how will that be addressed?
So we actually 3 years ago implemented the technology use agreement within our code of conduct, and campuses also, as I know at the high school, will put it on their syllabus when they hand out to the students each year. Each campus has a different flavor of getting the message out. For our schools like Copper Ridge School that does the bring your own technology, they, from the very beginning of the year, focus on digital citizenship. What does it look like to be responsible? It's going to be very difficult for us to combat the use of technology with our learners today. Our challenge is to teach them how to use it appropriately. And there are standards, technology standards on digital citizenship, and so each campus does a different flavor of those standards.
There is a awareness training that's really necessary, and you were at the presentation where the police officers spoke at the parent council. I was a national speaker on cyberbullying 15 years ago when it was first emerging. The critical piece of cyberbullying is the fact that it's 24/7. Once bullying has moved into the cyber world, it is with that child the rest of their life. And the problem is it's very difficult to investigate, control, and where our legal bounds, where we actually can engage and where we don't have a legal right to engage. And so there are some really significant complexities that occur when we get to the cyberbullying. But almost, I would bet, and I haven't looked at the stats in a while, early on we were finding that the bullying was on a drastic rise in the cyber world, because what was happening is what started on the playground ends up on the internet. And so what we see is that 80 to 85% of bullying will have some type of cyberbullying attached to it. So what starts out there on the playground that we think is very innocent escalates. So adult supervision, visibility, communication, access for students to know when that early first harassment begins, to contact an adult that can assist. Critical intervention is necessary, and awareness by parents. That's the other issue, is that then in the evening, at home, on the weekend, a lot of continued bullying is occurring, but it's through the internet.
So then can I just do one follow-up? Because you had mentioned that what's really important is the consistency of enforcement, yet we had just mentioned that we're very inconsistent in how we discuss it at each of our sites. Maybe we do need to look at having a consistent policy on what is actually communicated to each site, and then from there they can go out and maybe be more specialized.
So let me help you with your vernacular on that. So it's not a policy as it is a procedural implementation.
Okay.
Okay.
That
You
would
already
be
have a
great. But
policy.
that's something then to look at procedurally.
Okay. Board Member Hartman.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Sakos and Ms. Marshall. This is really just an important subject, so I appreciate you bringing us up to date on that, because in order to get academic achievement, we have to have safe environments so our learners can learn. So I really appreciate what you're doing and the continued work in this area. One question that I have for you is focused on the harassment area, and specifically kind of around the sexual harassment piece of it. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is being very involved with the Arizona Foundation for Women. We're very focused on domestic violence, date rape, sexual harassment, to the tune of 39% of women in the state of Arizona at some point feel as though have been impacted by one of these things. What the current teaching or learnings are right now is that it doesn't just start happening in college or post, tertiary. It actually starts happening much younger. And the real opportunity, or the current thought is, really focused on middle school and what healthy relationships look like, which then becomes the basis of healthy relationships going forward. So I was just wondering if you could speak to that a little bit and what we're doing in that area. I'd appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Board Member Hartman, specific to the 9th grade, within our human growth and development curriculum, there is a component on dating violence. And so that is delivered to every single 9th grader, or typically the 9th graders that take the physical education class. And Dr. Benson, I'm getting a nod of approval over there. Okay, so we do have that for every 9th grader. For the younger levels, while we start the human growth and development at the 6th grade, it's not as direct as it is at the 9th grade, but there are components of healthy relationships. And then when we see students that are having difficulty with relationships on campus, that's when we're able to form those groups through our student support services and target, because it could not necessarily be a dating violence concern, but just healthy relationships in general with other students on the campus. And so we do have support services to address that, but in terms of across the board at the 9th grade, dating violence is incorporated into human growth and development, PE classes. Does that help?
Yes, it does. And to the extent that there's something programmatically that we should consider in terms of healthy relationships, I think there's a great body of work out there. Not that I'm looking for more work for us to do, but it really is about setting the stage in our, at that age, to help create the conditions for success and healthy relationships going forward. So to the extent we can look into it on what that might look like, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, I'll chime in here. Thank you all to everyone who's put so much work, so much meaningful thought into building this framework for our students and our teachers and our parents and our community to deal with these difficult issues. We like to think our children are all perfect angels, but unfortunately they're not. And so you can see all the thought and care that's gone into this to help guide us each day as these issues come up. I also just want to give a little shout out to our Scottsdale resource officers and our Scottsdale Police Department. I was at the last Scottsdale Parent Council meeting with several of our SROs, basically scaring us parents to death with stories of what happens online and cyberbullying and the sexual harassment that happens online as well, and just the number of students who make some poor choices with their technology. So I want to thank them as partners for SUSD as well on this topic, and thanks for bringing them in to us whenever you can and having them taught to us parents. So
Absolutely, and they're more than willing to come in and do parent presentations, school presentations. Copper Ridge hosted a recent event that brought in about 150 families around the same topic and presentation that Scottsdale Parent Council did in conjunction with Not My Kid. That is the first time I have seen a response from a parent community, and it wasn't just Copper Ridge, but from our entire SUSD community to go and listen to a topic like that. So it was amazing. So we love that response, and if we get that response, we're going to continue to get the word out and utilize our community resources, because it's not a school issue, it's not an SUSD issue. All of these things are national issues that we continue to combat.
absolutely. Thank you. Board Member Kravitz.
Thank you. I just have, this is a multi-pronged question, so I'm giving you a heads up that I'll have a couple of issues. Okay. Could you refresh my memory as to how we publicize the code of conduct? For instance, in the elementary schools, do parents receive it when they go take their child to meet the teacher day before school starts and they sign it there? In middle school and high school, is it sent home in the back to school packet? So that's the first part of my, that's the first part of my question.
Sure. Board Member Kravitz, during the registration time in high school is when high school students and parents first see the acknowledgement of the Uniform Code of Conduct, and they also, within the student health history card, which is mandated to submit, they check whether or not they want a hard copy or they can access it online. So we've really tried to reduce the amount of paper that's out there that people don't usually utilize. They go online for that. At the elementary and middle school level, it's upon coming to and registering for school. And it's always available online, and parents can get a hard copy should they request it.
Okay, and then we touched upon consistency of district policy. I'm thinking at the high school level with regard to, let's say, prom, and there are instances of a student showing up inebriated. Some high schools won't let that child walk to receive their diploma, or perhaps if they've had an issue of the similar nature throughout the year, they don't participate. They're not allowed to participate in other celebrations. Are we consistent across the district about how we handle that?
Well, depending on
or is that a site, is it enforced by site, or should that be a district enforced policy?
So it really depends if it's a level 1 or level 2 violation. So a level 1 violation is an automatic 9-day out of school suspension, reduced to 5 if you participate in a drug and alcohol program.
Right.
So, and high school principals, if there's anyone here, you can come up and correct me if I'm wrong. And Nathan. And so the way our code of conduct reads is a student may not participate in a district-sponsored event if they are currently suspended. So if it happens that it's the day before graduation and that warrants an out-of-school suspension, then they would not be participating. They should not be participating in graduation ceremonies.
Okay.
So level 2 is the distribution piece, a repeated offense, and they would be 9 days up for a recommendation for expulsion, and again, should not be participating in activities. But I am not aware of any exceptions to the rule. If they're currently suspended, no participation in district-sponsored events.
Would it be possible to remind our parents, maybe 1 or 2 times throughout the year, perhaps right before prom time, of what our code of conduct is? Because it always seems, not always, but many a times there seems to be some parents that are quite unaware of, oh, I didn't know, or why is my child not being able to participate in X, Y, or Z as a result of their child's choices. So would it be possible for us to put that in the rotation of
We can certainly do that from the district level, but I can tell you that our campuses often utilize their parent organizations and their own e-blasts to remind parents.
Well, I just meant like on our website, like
Oh,
a
absolutely.
reminder, thank you.
Aaron, we got a couple tests to do
Well,
together.
and I see Dr.
really
Johnson
related
is
more to
taking
Eric.
notes, so it'll be tag teamed on that one.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wake
Board
up.
Member Kirby.
Thank you. I want to come back to this prom concept. So you said if a child shows up inebriated at a prom, how do we know that that child's inebriated at a prom?
All of our school proms and I would say 99% of our high school activities, athletic events, dances, functions have a school resource officer, a sworn police officer on campus. So upon suspicion of somebody being under the influence, it is sent directly to the police officer on duty to do that assessment. So they have the breathalyzers. They can also determine, whether or not they're under the influence or suspected under the influence based on their training.
So is it our expectation as a board and as a district that at these events that the school resource officers, upon suspicion, are allowed to breathalyze these children?
Yes, so when our administrators have the reasonable suspicion of something, then of course they can go ahead and do that search on the student. And when we provide that information to a sworn officer and give them that probable cause, they can absolutely take over and do the breathalyzers.
So it's the determination of the site principal.
It is the first step is a school representative, and it might be a teacher. It might be a teacher that a student is stumbling and slurring and sometimes throwing up. Imagine those signs and symptoms that occur sometimes. And they will then confront the child, get a resource officer to support. So it's typically drawn out of signs and symptoms and concern, and then because we have enough cause, we then bring a police officer in because now we have a criminal offense.
Okay, so what about an event like a prom that is widely known to be the event where kids go out before many of them do show up intoxicated, that you breathalyze before you go into the venue?
Oh, that would be a whole different issue.
And then what's our policy?
I'm going to just talk to Miss Marshall about that.
Because there are schools that allegedly do that. I don't know if that's legal.
Watched a lot of newscasts recently about everything from searches to breathalyzers. So let me hand the baton off.
Yes, we cannot just breathalyze everybody coming in without reasonable suspicion. That's our standard. We have to have that before we can that's considered a search. And we have to have that, for us, reasonable suspicion, police.
Got it.
Probable
As a
cause.
public school.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional comments, questions?
I just want to have some clarity for our board in that this code of conduct will probably, I assume, come back to us in consent for approval on the Tuesday, June 6th meeting. Is that correct?
That is
Just want
correct.
to make that clear. You'll see that in consent. All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Very good stuff. Right. So we move on to agenda item 8C, update on Coronado Success Initiative.
Well, let me introduce to you two other dynamic dual administrators here in the district. Dr. Johnson, who has been engaged in the Coronado Success Model for quite a while, and then recently joined by Dr. Fuller, who has begun the work at the campus as Dr. Johnson has taken on other responsibilities. We are extremely pleased that these ladies have worked together on this initiative, and I'm so excited for you to hear these updates. And I know you got little glimpses from me recently, the parent group that came in was 70 strong with the Hispanic parents who came and spoke, and thank you, Dr. Fuller, for that work. So I'm not going to take their thunder, I'm going to let them talk, but they are doing an amazing amount of work in this community.
Thank you, Dr. Birdwell. President Perleberg, Governing Board members, Dr. Birdwell and Sandra. It really is my pleasure to introduce my colleague here, Dr. Amy Fuller. You actually approved her contract at the last board meeting during the consent agenda, and so I'm very excited for her to actually be here so you can meet this talented lady that I get the opportunity to work with. She's bilingual, which helps us a lot as we're working with the population at Coronado High School, and has come in, hit the ground running. And I'm anxious for her to share what she has been doing. Just a reminder of the student goals for the Coronado Success Initiative, that all Coronado High School students will be prepared for success in post-secondary opportunities, whether that's college, career, other opportunities of their choice, and all students will have supports and the tools needed to define and achieve personal success.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, cabinet, Dr. Birdwell, of course, members of the audience. I appreciate Dr. Johnson introducing me. So that you know, my first language is Spanish, but the language that I speak the best is the language of care. And that's the language that we will be speaking at Coronado High School. It is my pleasure and my honor to work with all of you. And I wanted to talk to you briefly about community engagement. On January 21st, ASU led the Sign Day with 160 stakeholders. Many of them were students, parents, community members, etc. April 5th, we had a meeting here with a new principal, which I attended, and Mr. Chris Gilmore, about 60 parents, students, and others attended. The majority of them were Spanish speakers. In April 17, ASU led the Sign Day with 60 Coronado High School students, which also we attended, Mr. Gilmore and I and a few other people from Coronado High School.
I'm going to share just a story about the voices that we heard. This group of 60 students, we divided them 30 in the morning and 30 in the afternoon. So we did back-to-back processes with 30 individual students. And these were the students that typically are not on your student council, your government, involved in a variety of extracurricular activities. Average, ordinary students, some that come with deficits more than others. But what I found interesting is some of the comments that are still being compiled took me aback. And one of the comments that was shared when the principal, Gilmore, came to debrief with me and said, "Oh my gosh, we have to implement remediation." And I said, "What do you mean remediation?" I said, "We have tons of remediation. We have tons of tutoring." And he said, "These students are not receiving it." He said, "They told us they didn't know what to do to get help, how to get help, how to fit that in their day, who to go to other than their teachers to help them." And it was a huge aha moment because it helps us to think about, there's over 1,000 students at that school. We anticipate close to 1,000 next year, already over 900 students. While it appears the majority are engaged in activities, there's an awful lot of students that are not engaged, not having opportunities to achieve and reach their potential. Hence the 67% graduation rate. So we know a third of the students that attend are not staying to graduate. These voices shared statements that we had not heard before, and it was important to hear their voices. Is it reality? Probably not. There's tons of tutoring going on. But is every student connected with an adult on that campus that they can go to and be mentored? Even the ones that aren't always so lovable, that sometimes don't show up very often and sometimes are in the principal's office. But everyone deserves to have the same opportunities. So it was really, really an amazing day. We're anxious to get the detail from that. Our ASU facilitators were overwhelmed with the kinds of statements they heard from these students that they had not heard before. And we're very grateful that we had those students come in and talk to us about why they're not engaged and what's going on in their personal lives in the day of a student that struggles or has other deficits that impact their ability to even be at school. So I'm anxious for us to even have more conversations. And Dr. Fuller's going to talk now about the parents, the Spanish-speaking parents that she had the opportunity to meet with, and some of the statements that they shared in their meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. We met on May the 3rd with parents, and we anticipated having maybe 20 parents, so we prepared for 30. We had 70. In fact, you will see we had probably 9 tables, and we had no more room for chairs. I want to tell you that Coronado High School was very kind to me. All of them helped and contributed to the success of this program. And tomorrow we'll have the Native American parent meeting, and also I will meet with ASU to continue updating you and to continue going through the dates for the Spanish-speaking design day. There were many reasons why we met with the Spanish-speaking parents, but 2 of them were, number one, we wanted to inform them that Scottsdale Unified School District cares about them. They cares enough to hire a bilingual person to be able to meet their needs and serve them better. And the second reason, among many others, is because we wanted to know their perceptions. Perception for a person is their reality. We wanted to know the positive perceptions they have about Coronado and the challenges they see. And we're going through the data right now, but very enlightening how all of these parents want their children to graduate. That is their dream. They want more communication. So I'm translating everything. Fear not, I have 2 masters because they said I couldn't. And one of them is in Spanish culture and language. And so I'm very capable of doing this, and I love it. To summarize what we have been doing, and I just want to be able to recognize Dr. Johnson. She has done a lot of work and has provided with a very solid foundation for me to come in. Coronado had 68 positions. 64 of them were teachers, 1 librarian, and 3 counselors. 54 of those teachers were interviewed. 34 were offered contracts. 29 of them signed their contracts. 14 of them chose to be reassigned. Right, and take into account some of them retired and some of them left to other districts by choice. So out of 35 of our SUSD staff, out of 68, 35 of them are internal. 29 currently work at Coronado High School, 6 transfer from other schools, and the only positions we have on field currently are a guidance counselor. He declined our contract, but we have 3 other possibilities this week. 1 math who declined this morning, today. We also have 3 other candidates in interviews coming up, and 1 science contract that we have offered. We're waiting for him to let us know. All of these people are highly qualified. All of them have a lot of experience. We have people with PhDs in science and math. We have an engineer by trade. So we have been very careful in choosing who we bring to Coronado and who we bring to serve the children better. And we do have 1 athletic director. Interviews are being conducted this week. And in total, we have 1.6 unassigned Coronado High School teachers going.
One of the priorities was to provide specific staff professional development and pay our teachers for that time that they're coming and experiencing our professional development. So we have a week of professional development occurring right after school, and you will see that we're bringing in Dr. David Doctorman from Harvard to talk about the growth mindset. And then on Monday, the Coronado staff will receive their new laptops, and they will begin training with their laptops and developing their website. Tuesday and Wednesday, we will have our ASU colleagues come and do the design day with the design thinking process. And then on Thursday, we will have a norm setting time, some team building activities with the principal, and PLC training, which is our professional learning communities. We are also bringing our staff in and paying them extra to come in 3 days before contract. So they'll be coming on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the week before the official contracts start, with additional professional development. We also are having them come on 2 Saturdays per quarter. Those Saturdays will, one will focus on the design process. So working with smaller groups when they're not meeting on specific topics and coming back and bringing that to the larger process. We are also then bringing in professional development with experts. We already have some pretty exciting folks that we're getting from all over the country, some pretty big name people that that will bring expertise and help our teachers with a variety of topics, from working with students in poverty, working with data, looking at instructional strategies that enhance student engagement. And that concludes our update, but we wanted to let you know what has been happening. We've also had meetings with ASU, and Board Member Hartman, thank you so much for your efforts and involvement in this. It's been very instrumental in keeping us on this path. We have a lot of interest from business groups. We're looking at a couple of partnerships. One, we're hoping to get a a VISTA volunteer or AmeriCorps volunteer for a year, hoping to work that out. They would have a title of matriculation specialist, kind of an interesting title, but basically that person would work with the guidance counselors and students, helping them fill out college applications. If you've never done that before, it is daunting and overwhelming. So to be able to have a person to come in and have the students meet with them, and they can talk about college, they can help them understand some of the steps and the processes. So that's just one example. As we look at getting a speakers bureau, we're hoping to get our seniors to have a special leadership training with some mentoring with the Be a Leader Foundation. So lots of interest from lots of community groups and support groups, even individuals. I had a lady who is retired contact me and said, what can I help? I only have my $400 tax credit, but I have lots of friends. What can we do to help? And I immediately thought about the AP exams for the Coronado High School students. We have about 100 students that are taking AP, about 10% of the student body, that are taking the AP class, but only between 5 and 10 take the AP exam. And the majority of the reason is the cost. So we were able to put some of that tax credit donation to pay for the funds for AP exams, because if 100 students are taking an AP class at Coronado, 100 students should be able to access the AP exam.
In addition, we had the Arizona Community Foundation, Dr. Johnson and I went to and met with them, and they are very interested in engaging in this, including helping sponsor some of those AP exams, and they understand the value to the students. So we are, and another piece was the application to college actually has a fee to it, and looking at creating those scholarships to be able to help the students. There's a couple other components that we are in the process of doing, and one is we will be doing some baseline self-efficacy with all of the students to find out how they feel and believe about themselves and themselves as learners, and then from there also opening the door to some career software to be able to look at what do they see as a career and what it would take to achieve that career. Out of that data, we'll begin to match up as the mentors come on board, mentors with students who have dreams and hopes, and be able to have them actually talk to individuals who've been successful from their own community. In addition to that, the design days for the teachers also engages all of the data. They're going to get to go back through the information and the voices of the students to hear what their challenges and their concerns are and the challenges that came from the parents. So as they begin to design their school and plan for the future, they've listened to those voices and they've heard the students and the parents and what they believe have been the challenges that they've faced. And I was, again, astounded, although I shouldn't have been, but when Dr. Fuller shared with me that the most consistent message from a parent is, I want my child to graduate from high school. And when we're missing that with 1/3 of the students, we need to listen to that parent's voice and find the solution. So this is really powerful work, and I know it's had a lot of angst around it, but I have to tell you, it's exciting work for our students and our families as we go forward. And for those teachers who have chosen and those who have been selected, I'm very excited for them and the work that they'll be doing next year.
All right. I guess we're so clear, no questions?
Any questions? All right. Board Member Hartman.
Thank you. Dr. Johnson, Dr. Fuller, really the cabinet and the team that's behind you, as well as Dr. Birdwell, thank you so much for the heavy lifting that you're doing. This isn't easy work, and so there's a deep debt of gratitude that I'd like to share, and I know the parents and the students, ultimately our students, are going to benefit from this, so thank you very much. And I also wanted to know if you wanted to dispel that one public comment about the stipends, because there is no issue with ensuring that our teachers receive those stipends, as I know the parties that want to support it are prepared to write the check. So, but
Yeah.
you might want to dispel that right on the front end.
Yeah, thank you. We'll get those stipends out at the time when we do the coaches' stipends and everything else. That's a normal process. We don't send the stipend with the contracts, from what I understand from HR. Dr. Sitton's going, you're correct. So when those coaching stipends come out, just like they would for the fall programs, those stipends will come in place for our teachers, and they are $3,500 per semester. So the first stipend will be for $3,500. There'll be a second stipend for the second semester in case someone chose to leave their contract, which sometimes happens. So that will be forthcoming, and that dollar has been built into the budget. And it is DSEG dollars to support the work with our students. It's very appropriate expenditure in that regard. And then we have other initiatives, like we said, training and pieces that other groups have come in and said we are so excited to support the initiative. And the Speakers Bureau is well on its way under Cliff McKinsey's tutelage, and we are very excited. Arizona Community Foundation wants to partner with us on the Speakers Bureau. Very excited about getting back to them and being able to get the dollars to them for that. But that is exciting. And by the way, the Speakers Bureau won't just affect this campus. We're going to be able to show that with the other high school campuses. I'm very excited about doing something that typically isn't done in public schools. It's typically more of a private school function. So we're pretty ecstatic about the Speakers Bureau.
Thank you.
Anything? Board Member Beckham. Okay. Okay. All right. Board Member Kravitz.
Sorry, I just want to say thank you. Is it Dr. Fuller?
Yes.
Dr. Fuller and Dr. Johnson. I have heard some feedback with regard to the May meeting, and people were very excited about it. And so I just wanted to say thank you for the time and energy you put into that, and the whole initiative as well. Thanks.
Yeah. Now we're ready. All right, Board Member Beckham.
Thank you so much for all the work. This is, I find this really exciting, and to see that it is such a collaboration with students, with parents, with ASU, the business community, and our teachers. I mean, it's kind of a culmination of everything that we talk about, and we're going to, see the fruits of all that labor, I know, be a success. So one of the questions I have is on ASU design. Keeps on talking about how they're getting together with everybody. Is there going to be, and I know it's an ongoing process with them. I don't know if it's a 2-3 year term, but is there going to be a time when all of a sudden they have like an unveiling of this is what we've come up with, at least for this coming up year? So is that kind of in the summer, or is it in the fall? Or is it not going to be an unveiling and just going to be kind of progressive and rolled out, and we see what happens?
Board Member Beckham, it is more like what you shared at the end, that it's going to roll out. The process, and we have shared this in many meetings, we've shared it in staff meetings, community meetings, that there are no changes next year as far as big changes. Same school day, same courses, the kids are already signed up, we're getting ready to do the master schedule for the 943, I think, are already in the system. So there won't be any big changes except more tutoring opportunities, more professional development opportunities for teachers, mentoring opportunities, college and career emphasis in embedding the education and career action plans. So that's we've already started the trainings on that. So improving those pieces, communication, student engagement, reaching and making sure every student is involved. The new principal says he wants every student involved in 3 activities. So we'll see if he can meet that. But those kinds of pieces are just a part of what every high school should be doing with their students. So there won't be any sweeping changes. What will happen is after all the data's collected from all of our different design days, we're working with ASU, and we'll compile what are some of the big ideas, the big themes. that have occurred. One happens to be in the scheduling, the school day. Students struggle with that piece. Parents sometimes struggle with that piece. Students don't like to be at school at 7:45. So that may be a conversation. What do we do about the school day? Do we change it? Do we not? And we envision that there'll be what we would say maybe our small working groups that look at 2 or 3 issues based on what we've learned and form probably in the fall and begin to do some work. And then it'll be iterative. So they'll do some work, they'll come back to the whole faculty and staff. It'll be shared with sort of our design team, our initial group, with the CHAROs and SUSD and ASU. We're bringing in SCC as one of our partners as well. And through next year, mostly the fall if we're going to make changes for the following year. But we don't anticipate sweeping changes. We don't know for sure what they are going to be. But it is a process that all the voices will be heard and people will be involved in what do they think will improve the life of a student. And
I think you can put it in 2 phases. The first phase has been to identify what the challenges are for the learners and the parents. The second phase are the teachers looking at those challenges and rethinking how we traditionally have answered those challenges. And are there better ways to address the needs? Because clearly what we've done and have always done is not getting a different result. We've seen a decrease in graduation. We've seen a decrease in academic achievement. So let's look back at those issues again with the challenges the students have informed us of. And as teachers, as educators, come together to say, are there better solutions to the challenges that these students are facing? And then are they realistic? How can we actually put them in? And that point, bringing that back to us to say, we have some challenges, we have some solutions, can you support us in that process? That comes from the voice of the teacher. So we're very excited about getting that to that teacher piece of engagement, of looking at these expert teachers and saying, how can you begin to address the challenges? For instance, if I'm not available for the student to get tutoring, how can I tutor them? When does that student need access to me? And is there a different way to meet that access? So how are we going to address the support the student needs? I can't just say, go hire a tutor, because they don't have the money to pay for the tutor. So I need you, teacher, to help me and help me understand when I can access you. So that's the conversations that have to occur. When are we available to help the student address the academic challenges? That's a great starting place conversation. Students have already told us, I need accessibility to my teacher. It can't just be 5 minutes during instruction. The student needs a deeper dive into the problems they're having with the learning. How will we provide that time for that student to get the help? And what does that look like? Is part of it computer-based? Is it part of it one-to-one? Is it part of it through my mentor and my volunteers? But that problem needs to be resolved, and it needs to come from that faculty. So those are the conversations that they will be having throughout the year, and as soon as they get resolution to those, I would imagine they'll be anxious to get those implemented and be talking to the board about it. Very an organic way of thinking about design.
Board Member Kirby.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Good stuff. I agree, very exciting. And I appreciate the diligence to do this right and to take the time to do it right with the teachers and the design planning. But I'm conflicted a bit because when we do take that time, I feel like it's just another generation, another year of students that won't benefit from what's ahead. But I think that we are selling ourselves short a bit on some of where we're headed. So for example, incoming freshmen. Have we done anything differently with the incoming freshmen to ensure that they are properly placed in English and math, for example, the correct level? Have we done anything differently with the kids going in next year than we have in the years past?
Board Member Kirby, that process has actually been revised all across the district. So students were tested, letters are going out to parents, and so that process at the district level has been revised, and principals are working with them on that. I think one of our pieces that came up is there is a gap between bringing our 8th graders into the freshman year, that coming from Tonalea to the high school. And we've recognized that. Mr. Gilmore went down and met with the 8th grade students, met with the 8th grade parents. What we are planning to do, I actually had a meeting with a parent from Coronado, has a student coming into the 9th grade. We looked at the data for the student. I pulled her records all the way back to 5th grade, and we discussed and we talked about where were successes, where were places where we needed some interventions, and here's where we are now. Looking at the schedule, making sure it's appropriate. Every child deserves that kind of meeting, and because it has not happened in the past with one-on-one meetings, when the counselors get on board in July, they come a few extra days before their contract starts, and the administrators will be there. So we are going to contact all of those incoming freshmen, and we'll be holding meetings. We've got our Spanish speaker here to help with that, with our parents, so that every parent and every student has a chance to meet with the counselor or administrator and make sure they understand the recommended placement and why they're in the particular courses that they're in, and begin building that relationship from the beginning.
And I have to add another piece, and Amy, don't forget your thought, though. Systemically, this isn't just a Coronado initiative. So yesterday we started a training that I think caused a little bit of confusion out there, and we're going to be helping principals understand it, but we took counselors and principals through ECAP training. One would assume that everybody understands the importance of an ECAP. One would assume that everybody understands it's a state statute, that you have to have one, that you have to have a 4-year plan for every student. Unfortunately, we have some education to do and some training. The ECAP system is a free system under the state ADE. It's provided to us. We're not adding work to our principals, but we're educating our principals while we're educating our counselors, because if the counselor doesn't understand that, they need to be able to go to the principal to help understand why you do a 4-year plan. So that 4-year plan needs to eventually be done in the 8th grade. So before I hit high school, I know where I'm headed. I have a roadmap. And then the high school people need to understand that ECAP so that they're counseling the students as they register every year, as they're thinking of college and post-secondary. So all of these pieces tie together. It was a bit cumbersome for people yesterday. And unfortunately, one of the messages was, well, Scottsdale went with this because they wanted to save money. No, that wasn't true. We went with the ECAP simply because we need to implement a very successful program for our students. The reality is every student needs a 4-year plan. So even something as simple as an ECAP is being retaught in the Scottsdale district across the board, in every middle school and every high school. And those poor principals are going, it's the end of the year, quit dragging me through training. Bear with us. It's critically important to the success of students to have that 4-year plan. And we know May is bad timing, but we must fix that in order to go forward. So pieces like that, we are selling ourselves short of the little pieces that are going to create a systemic change all the way across the board. Now I have that ECAP in place next year. When we go to register, it's going to be a different process. And we had a parent who did a fabulous job of journaling the experience of a parent in enrolling their child. We have room for growth. And we have those details. And they were explicit. And we appreciate that kind of feedback we got from the parents, because we need to serve better. Dr. Fuller.
Board Member Ms. Kirby, we share the same sense of urgency you have. And so we have already identified the sophomores who are behind by name and how many credits they're deficient, the juniors, the freshmen this year. We know how many, we know who they are, we know them demographically. we know what we're going to do with them. We're also reiterating what Dr. Johnson said. We had put measures so that we never do this again, so that we can actually know where the incoming freshmen are and we can meet their needs right then. So just a quick answer to your question, we're on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll jump in because I very much appreciate that dialogue regarding proper placement of our students, knowing what they know, knowing what they don't know, and getting them in a classroom that is designed for them to be successful in, and also for our teachers to be successful with them because they know where they are as a learning team. So I think that's incredibly important part of this. We all know you don't just not think about this stuff till high school. We have to push back down into middle and elementary school and make sure that everyone's set up for success moving forward. Very excited where the Coronado, the whole entire complex is going and what this means for it. Kind of reflecting on a lot of the comments tonight, can you reiterate to our board and community the kind of special qualifications that when you were staffing Coronado and looking for the teachers to fill these classrooms, what special qualifications were you looking for that were going to stand out to be successful?
We wanted them to have experience. For me, it's more important that they can connect with a child than they have a lot of experience, because we can give them experience. We can help with classroom management, time management, those type of things, but we cannot help with the will. If they don't have the will to meet a child's need, there's nothing we can do. So we met with them and we talk about who they really are philosophically. We had several questions for them. We wanted them to know the content area, we wanted them to have experience, and we wanted them to have the will to teach, the will to serve, the will to do more than expected. I don't know if that answers your question, but
a little bit. I understand that level of it, but I wondered if there was anything as far as on a resume, specific experiences that they had or training that was, you knew would make them more successful for our students.
Let me just add a little more to that, President Perleberg. The two of the big pieces that I think really stood out were, we asked them to identify all the staff development they had from Scottsdale Unified School District. And we had over 30 different opportunities for professional development, from DOK, depths of knowledge, to the Kagan schedule strategies, to content-specific trainings, to the literacy trainings that they've had. And they checked what trainings they have participated, and we have My Learning Plan. So we wanted to see, are they a continual learner? Are they a lifelong learner? Which feeds into the growth mindset, which is really the bottom line. Are you willing to look at other ways of doing things, and you have an expertise in your content area that you think you can impart to students in a variety of ways, in ways that are different than we maybe haven't thought about. And those teachers that had shared some innovative ideas, for example, like the flipped classroom. I don't know, is she still here? Oh my gosh, she is. Our math teacher, thank you for sitting there. Janine has been amazing in this process, one of our superstar math teachers, where she has flipped classroom, where the lectures are, they get on the internet, right, at night, and in the day they work on the concepts and the practice, so that they're not necessarily doing the homework piece without someone there, because oftentimes kids go home and they say, I don't know how to do this. I saw it done in class, but I don't know how to do this. So if they get the instruction and then in class get the practice and reinforcement, it's amazing. She has such great stories. She actually said she was a convert. I think we had that conversation the other day. So those kinds of thinking, when they see the successes these kids can have that have not had success in 3 years of math, literally been in the same course, and now are seeing success by looking at things differently. So some of those ideas, willing to try different pieces, and then caring about every single student, every single one.
May I add? We did a very careful process of screening the candidates, very careful. And we chose only the top ones. And we interviewed several people before we chose a candidate. I don't know if that was what you wanted to know. And we chose people with the highest qualifications possible. And so the people that are coming here are top people. So we can assure you of that.
Thank you. Yes, that all answered all my questions. Anything further? Any other questions or concerns? I think we're ready to move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Exciting summary. Right, we will move on to our action item 9A, proposed issues to submit to Arizona School Board Association for 2018 political agenda. Ms. Como helped us with this earlier and gathered individually those things that came to the top for us and put it together so we can kind of move along hopefully quickly considering the hour. So 4 votes were submitted for the following 2 items on the political agenda. Under resources for schools, number 6, fully fund full-day kindergarten and include kindergarten students in the override calculations. That received 4 votes from the board. And then under resources for schools, number 9, provide additional state funding for nationally competitive salaries to attract, recruit, and retain talented teachers. So I would make a suggestion that we kind of put those on the top of the list right now. And then we can move on to the item that got 3 votes from our board, resources, under resources for schools, number 4, advocate to renew, expand, and improve Prop 301. So that would be 3 out of the 5 proposed items. Is everyone good with those 3 getting on the list? Okay, great. So then the following 2, the items that received 2 votes from our boards, the first under resources for schools, number 1, strengthen the school finance formula to equitably and adequately fund public schools. My understanding is that I believe we can list that number 1 and all of its subsets as one item and then choose another. And then, so the other 2 items that were voted for from 2 board members, under state education policy, number 4, establish financial and academic transparency for all institutions that accept public funds. And also under state education policy, number 5, repeal any program that gives public funds for private schools, ESAs, and STOs, or prevent any further expansion, or a future expansion, sorry. So I would say then we discuss those 3, and if we can narrow it down to 2 of those, we're ready to. We could list that as an additional. I've lost my. We could list all 3. One of them could be under additional items for consideration. Does that make sense?
No.
So we could do that. Yes, Board Member Kirby.
Do we have to pick 5?
No.
That's my question.
No. All right.
Because I'll just continue, because I've been on this board for 6 years, and it's been my experience. We go through this every year, and quite frankly, it just doesn't matter. So, I mean, it's an exercise in futility, to be honest. So, I would, as a board member, I'd prefer to hone in on, which is what I did. I honed in on 2, and just said, focus on these 2, and I don't even know that that's going to matter, to be honest, but.
All right.
It does not hurt where you already have some consensus, say these are the top 3 priorities for Scottsdale, and we're firm on these.
Yeah, and we could obviously take those, the 2 that had 4 votes and the 1 that had 3 votes, And we could just submit those 3 and move forward. All right, so shall we make that motion? I so move. I'll make a motion that, oh, do I need to read them again? Okay, all right, so resources for schools number 6, resources for schools number 9, and resources for schools number 4, that those 3 priorities be listed for our governing board's priorities to ASBA.
I second it.
Thank you, Board Member Beckham. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Board Member
button was
you are lighting. I'm sorry. Sandy, Board Member Kravitz.
I would like to request that we, even though it may be futile or whatever, doesn't make any difference, I would like to add state education policy number 4, establish financial and academic transparency for all institutions that accept public funds.
That would be,
That would be our fourth
I'm
one.
sorry. I'm sorry. State education policy. Sorry.
Yeah, state education policy number 4.
Establish financial.
You're taking public funds, you have to disclose what you're doing with
All
them.
right.
I think that's a great idea to add. That is number 4.
That's number
Could
4.
we amend the
All right,
motion?
so we amend the motion.
And
All right, thank you. Board Member Beckham amends the motion. Do we have a second?
Aye.
Board Member Kravitz, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Was
Aye.
it Board Member Kirby, lights on. Did you have any
No,
more
I'm
comments?
voting.
No. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Ms. Como, you're all clear on that, right? All right, thank you. Thank you.
In all of my years, I've never seen a board do that fast. Well done.
We try. All right, so agenda item 10, future items. Board members may propose topics for future consideration. We got a long list, and our agenda calendar's being worked on as we speak. So we will then move on to agenda, I'm sorry. We are on 10. I'm sorry. Board Member Kravitz, did you have something you wanted to add? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Peabody left, but I think we can all agree that robotics has been a hot topic tonight. And for me, robotics, I've worked on this to be a hook. Robotics is the football of technology in our high school. Figure if you stick football in there, people will pay attention. So when I would like to have a discussion about, I don't know exactly what we call them. Is it supplemental contracts for our teachers for what, for their after-school activities that they're involved with? I'd like to include that in that discussion. I know it's going to be a co-curricular activity, but I would like to include a discussion about robotics. And there are some other activities as well in the fine arts that when we have our discussion either about the budget, we can include this, or in a separate conversation.
It's a supplemental pay conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know when the last time our district looked at it, but we need to establish some more equity there for some of our activities.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Board Member Hartman.
Thank you. So I would like to, either at the work study or the June meeting, see if we can craft the proposal on what a resolution would look like around ESA, so just to make sure that's formally on the agenda. And then the second item that is probably off for next year, but there was something that came up in public comment that I thought was really interesting. I think it was a teacher for Kiva talked about a program of which it was kind of a mentoring buddy system between the high school complex, Saguaro, and Kiva. And I'm wondering if at some point in time we can talk about what a more programmatic kind of complex buddy program would look like. I know there's been a lot of success in different institutions, both public and private, and so what would that look like for Scottsdale Unified?
So I'm sorry, you're talking about mentoring within the complexes, student mentoring?
K-12
okay.
student mentoring, high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools. Thank you.
Got it. And Board Member Kirby.
So with all due respect to the requests, I mean, our agenda, we have so much to get through by the end of June. The biggest thing, quite frankly, being a budget discussion that needs to be deep and transparent, and we need to take quite a bit of time on for our community. And I'm sure I'm missing you have the list. I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch of other very, very large things. And I'm worried that we as a board are beginning to lose focus and trying to throw a very wide net because something popped up where we need to get the important business done and taken care of. I am frustrated that it is May and we have not had a budget discussion yet. So those discussions normally started in March, and I was frustrated when they started in March that we waited until March. So I'm just, as a board member, I would just ask that we prioritize the balance of May and June, Dr. Birdwell and President Perleberg, to ensure that we get through and we spend adequate time against what is important.
Yes.
I appreciate that because all of your ideas are great, but if you could let us really focus down on budgeting right now, we have got to get the time on budgeting, and it has to be our number one priority.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And we have discussed adding another special meeting, work study session for budget specifically, in building that in very soon, and the bond, yes. So, yes, yes.
Spend the money.
Is there. So, yes, if we're all ready, then I can move on to the upcoming meetings. There will be some additional added at a certain point once those are determined. But we do have our Thursday, June 1st meeting, 3 p.m. study session, Tuesday, June 6th, a regular governing board meeting at 5 p.m., and Tuesday, June 20th, a 3 p.m. regular governing board meeting, which we will scheduled to approve the fiscal year 18 budget. We'll move on quickly then to agenda item 12, governing board reports. Do we have any tonight?
No, but before you do that, governing board, we in May here are probably going to need a meeting once a week, and we're going to send you out what's the best day of the week. But we have to get through the budget. We need almost a weekly meeting, so just be prepared for that.
Yeah. Okay. If there's no governing board reports, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Board Member Kirby. Second?
Aye.
Board Member Kravitz, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all.